All right, Monday Night Krug Show. Dieter's in the house. We got a lot to get to. Let's get to it right here. Off and running Monday night, Super Bowl week. Hope everybody's enjoying their Monday. Welcome to February. It's February 2nd. Man, January came, January went. That was quick.
I got bad news, Larry. February goes even faster.
Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And welcome to the week of Super Bowl 60. Welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. The best barbecue in all of Northern California is Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're soon to open in Petaluma. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket. Get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Sleeper. That's right. The link's in the description. Use promo code Larry. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. And thanks to Claudaddy Arcades for sending us to Philadelphia during the playoffs. She's a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades to find a location near you. 7 locations, including Capitola. We're big fans of Claudaddy Arcades. All right, we're off and running, and we titled the stream, What Do the Niners Need to Do to Get Back to the Super Bowl? Why don't we start with Super Bowl 60 and the matchup? And before we get into exactly what the Niners need to do, why don't we talk a little bit about this game? And I think a lot of people, I've talked to a number of people today, and there's this prevailing wisdom that Seattle is a whole lot better and they're going to trounce New England. And I just, I don't know, man. I just don't see it that way. I always look at who you played and how you played them. You know what I mean? And when you look at Seattle, what have we seen in these playoffs? We saw Seattle beat the Niners, but the Niners are a mash unit, and the Niners weren't ready for that game, and the Niners were blown out. I mean, they had fired their shot in Philly. Yeah. Okay. They had nothing left at all. They were just waiting around to get beat, and sure enough, they got beat, and they got beat big, 41-6, and it was over at the Anthem. So that was their first game, and Seattle had a rest advantage in that game. Not that the rest disadvantage was the reason that the Niners lost, but it just made a already one-sided game very one-sided. So then you fast forward to the conference championship game, and Seahawks again at home against a very good Rams team, but they had the extra day of rest. They were sleeping in their own beds. The Rams had come from Chicago. They were a little road weary. And Seattle beat them, but they didn't beat them big. I mean, they beat them by 4. You kind of wonder about that game. That was also Seattle playing in Seattle, and it's a tough place to play. It's very, very loud. Now you're getting a New England team that, defense is really cooking, and they're giving up very few points a game. And
to whom?
Not to great teams, but I mean, they're not that. New England played Houston, who had a really good defense, and beat them, and then they beat Denver in Denver.
Who were the quarterbacks for that game?
Yeah, Jarrett Stidham and C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud, who was turning the ball over like it was some sort of a match-fixing scandal, who, by the way, had fewer turnovers in that game than Drake May, who put the ball on the floor 4 times in that game.
Right, but I mean, okay, so once again, they overcame turnovers. They've overcome turnovers. The thing about Seattle to me is that Seattle has a guy in Darnold I don't really believe in.
Fair enough.
And then they've played they've played 2 games, really just 1 game, because the Niners were totally not ready.
Sure.
So then they got 1 game against the Rams team. They had an extra day of rest. They're at home, and they barely beat them. I don't know.
Why did they get that? Why did they get that bye, though, Larry? Why didn't they have to play in the first round?
Because they were the number 1 seed?
Because they went to San Francisco and absolutely kicked their teeth in Week 18.
But I mean, that's the same crappy Niner team. We're talking about
okay,
we're talking
but
about
then
multiple
a Niner
wins.
team that beat the Eagles, and fair enough. Okay, fine. We don't
But I
agree
mean-
that that's there. The Rams are a very good
don't think-
football team.
Yeah.
Let me just throw a stat at you real fast. The Seahawks' losses this season have been by a combined 9 points. The biggest loss they had all year was week 1 to the 49ers, 17-13. They have lost by a total of 9 points all year. So who have you played and how have you done against them? The Seahawks had a much tougher schedule, maybe not at the back end compared to the rest of the 18, but they lost by a total of 9 points. So they had the 1 seed. You can't take that away from them. I mean, does New England get extra points for not being the 1 seed? Is that your argument? Getting to play the Chargers in the first round at home, getting to play C.J. Stroud, who's just totally regressed and was terrible in both of his playoff games, getting to play him at home, and then getting to play Jared Stidham on the road in a snowstorm in the second half to where the only person who could move the ball was a quarterback running it because throwing it or giving it to somebody else was akin to turning it over. Like the Patriots defense is playing a hell of a lot better, but they're coming off of a cupcake schedule of all cupcake schedules, and their offense has been abysmal in the playoffs, and it's been abysmal as of late. It's just I don't know if I'm picking up what you're laying down with the whole I like the Pats run in. I think that the Seahawks have been dominant, and you're holding it against them.
No, it's just it's dominant against who? I mean, against bad teams. The 49ers were
The
bad.
Rams are not a bad team. The Rams are probably the second best team in all of football.
Yeah, but that's a road-weary team. But
how is Houston not
home.
road weary? How are the Chargers not road weary? How are the Denver Broncos not completely a shell of themselves with a backup quarterback? How did they not get the demerits?
I just think that you're looking at New England. New England has gone. They've won 13 of 14. The only game that New England has lost since September is a 4-point loss in the division to the Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
And
who did they beat during that stretch, though, by the way?
But once again, you're saying that they didn't have a very good offense, but they finished the year 38 points. Then the next game before that, 42.
Yeah.
The game before that, 28. Even then their loss, they scored 31.
Yeah.
The week before that, 33, 26, 27, 28, 24, 32,
You
31.
can make the exact same argument with the Rams or the Seahawks, though.
But I mean, they went up against Houston. Houston's defense is really, really good.
And
they
Seahawks
put up
beat
28.
And Houston and the Seahawks played Houston in Week 7 and won 27-19. The Seahawks have lost one of their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They've lost once since October 12th, or since October 5th.
I'm just saying that the Seahawks team that I'm seeing. Okay, so we've seen in the course of history some great defensive teams.
Yes,
come into the Super Bowl and overwhelm their opponent, right?
Yes.
And we saw it with Seattle and Denver.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it with Tampa and Oakland. We saw it with Baltimore and the New York Giants.
Patriots and Rams.
We've seen some great defenses snuff out some old, slow offenses. Rich Gannon, one of those years, and you know you've got some slower guys. I'm not seeing that right now. I'm seeing a really gutty New England team that is probably. I mean, you know, if you said to me, I think New England has a real good chance to in this game. I mean, if they obviously Drake May can't fumble 6 times, but I mean, Sam Darnold has been perfect so far. He has not been the Sam Darnold of old. Okay. What happens if they get into a game with a rugged New England team and Sam Darnold throws a couple turnovers to a really good New England secondary? And I just think that New England has some of the pieces that you need to slow down Seattle. Seattle's got JSN, but Christian Gonzalez is a pretty damn good corner.
I agree with that.
So I don't know. I mean, I what I see is a low scoring, mucky kind of, you know, tight game. I don't think it's going to be Seattle. Oh my God, they're snuffing out everything that New England has. And I mean, they snuffed out the Niners, but they didn't snuff out the Rams.
Nope.
And I don't think I don't think Drake May is going to get snuffed, and I don't think New England's going to get snuffed. I think they're going to be able to do a little bit against this defense, and then it comes down to what's Seattle offensively, and I don't know that you can run on New England the way that K9 ran on some of these other teams. So then it comes back to, can Sam Darnold beat you? And if they had a little bit more of a diversified passing attack, I'd feel better about it. But with a one receiver type team, I like New England. I think New England's going to be +2 in turnovers, and they're going to get the game in their terms. It's not going to be a high scoring game. It's going to be a low scoring game. It's probably not a fast track. It's more of a slow, muckier track, even though the weather should be okay.
It might rain.
Yeah, maybe and also, it's just not a fast track. It's not a fast surface.
No, it's a longer.
So the surface kind of, I think, favors New England. Okay. New England's Drake May's so young, but there's something game about him. And I don't know. I think Sam Darnold does not go through this playoffs unscathed. I think there's a couple turnovers in this game. And I like New England in a field goal game. Give me New England like 23-20 or 2017. I think it's going to be a low scoring kind of defensive slog on both sides. I don't know. We'll see. We can all admit this. New England is on a magic carpet ride. They won 3 or 4 games last year. They're on the verge of winning the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. This is a magic carpet ride for them. And
how'd that go for the Niners in 2019, by the way?
Well, they were going up against Mahomes. They're not going. I mean, Darnold is not. This Mahomes.
Defense is. I've said this before. I'll repeat it. This is the best defense in the NFL in the last 15 years.
I agree. Well,
you don't have to agree with that. That's a bold one. I'll give you that. Like, you don't have to agree with
years?
Last 15 years.
Okay, but where was this defense last week then?
Sean McVay's got a really good number on it, and you can hit him over the top with some dagger concepts if you have 2 great receivers, which the Rams do, and I do not believe the Patriots do. Also, you have to have Matt Stafford, who's just tough as nails and is willing to stand in there and absolutely deliver some bombs down the field, because you can get this team over the top. But I want to throw another.
Even if I agreed with you, I don't. But even if I agreed with you on that, don't you think New England has already faced? Don't you think having a team that's already faced Denver in Denver and this wicked Houston defense?
Yep.
The one thing I don't see happening is I don't see them getting into this game like the Raiders did against the Bucs, or the Giants did against the Ravens, or even Denver did against Seattle a few years ago, and just being like, oh my God, they're so much faster. Oh my God, there's no room on the field. We're snuffed out like a candle. I like Seattle's defense, and I think it's really talented on all 3 levels. I'm just not seeing that level of a defense. And to be completely honest, New England has found a way to conquer Denver's defense on the road and Houston's defense
at home.
Do you think Seattle's defense is quite a bit better than those defenses, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Seattle's defense is the best defense in football in the last 15 years. And Drake May didn't exactly conquer them, because in the last 10 years, there have been 32 examples. This is from Keel Shapedia's Ringer article, and it's a pretty incredible stat. Last 10 years, 32 examples of a quarterback making 3+ postseason starts in a given year. Among that sample, Drake May has the absolute last-ranked EPA per pass play and success rate. So he's putting up the worst long-term playoff run of any player in the last 10 years.
Partially probably due to the terrible conditions, right? He was 10 of 21 for 86 yards.
But what was he? Then he had 4 fumbles, and how bad was he against Houston? And then how bad? So what?
So doesn't it almost kind of make you think that he won those games anyway?
I'm not arguing that he didn't win him. He's clearly playing in the Super Bowl. But my argument is simply that Seattle, for their warts on offense, and I can't disagree necessarily with the idea that they're a one-trick pony in the pass game, but Sam Darnold looked damn good against the Rams, and I don't think the Rams' defense is scrubs. I thought that they did a really nice job with Kenneth Walker on the ground. I thought that they blocked well. I could make the argument, though it's a lot closer, that the Seattle has a better offense than New England. I can make that argument. And in that, I already think that Seattle has the best defense in the last 15 years. So, with all the positives that I see from New England's defense, like it's not the Seattle defense, it's not even top 5 in the NFL this year. So, I'm looking at an offense that looks to be pretty damn close, if not better, in Seattle's. I'm looking at a defense which I think is markedly better, even if New England's is good. With Milton Williams really bringing them an extra level of energy. And here's the part that no one's going to talk about in the build-in. Seattle's special teams are elite. They're so much better than even the 49ers. Look at how much better they were than the Niners. And the Niners had one of the better special teams units in football this year. So I'm looking at an area where I can see 3 units being markedly better. And yes, you can say Sam Darnold, the rug is about to get pulled out. But what have we seen all playoffs from Drake May? The rug getting pulled out. And he's gotten away with it because he's gone up somehow 3 times in a row against a worse quarterback. He's gone up against Justin Herbert, whose spleen might have exploded in that game because they were playing me and 2 guys off the street on offensive line. He's going up against a Houston offense, which was just inept. Full stop, inept. And then he's going up in the snow against Jared Stidham in a game that, a lot of people blame the Broncos for losing with Jared Stidham as their quarterback. And now you're going up against a Seattle team that just outdueled offensively the LA Rams and absolutely snuffed out the San Francisco 49ers 2 out of the 3 weeks prior. And you can say, the 49ers sucked, but we were also peddling a lot of positives coming off that game against the Eagles.
But that's just because we do 49er content.
No. You got to be honest either way. And I honestly thought that the Niners there was
hoping more than anything.
There was a little more pluckiness to them than we're giving them credit for. They just got absolutely demolished by the Seahawks. Man to man, they got their teeth kicked in. 31-10 Seahawks in this game. It's going to be a real doozy. You're not even going to have to watch the halftime show because it's going to be over.
I just don't believe in this. I don't believe in Darnold, and I don't believe in. It's weird. It's like the Seattle team. It's like on one hand, yeah, I understand. I mean, it's a really good defense. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't believe
Drake
it.
May's been abysmal under pressure in the playoffs. He's been getting pressured a hell of a lot more. He's been abysmal under pressure. What the hell is Seattle going to do to him with 2 weeks to prepare? He might have a shoulder injury that's being covered up right now. You think Kayshon Boutte's going to take the top off of this defense? They don't even know who their running back is for this game. Will Campbell, their left tackle, is putting together one of the worst playoff runs of any player I can remember ever. He messed up his groin or his knee late in the season, and he has been barbecue chicken on the left side this entire time. I don't think Drake May sniffs the end zone until this game is well in hand and over, and they're just playing prevent defense to get this thing over with.
Well, we'll see. I don't know, man. I don't see it that way. I think New England is more game than you give him credit for. It's a new era. I think this kid is going to play pretty well. I don't know. I really don't. I like Seattle, but I can kind of tell that their confidence is not really real, and I don't really think that.
What the hell does that mean?
I just don't. What their confidence is like, you can kind of tell when you watch them that like Darnold, there's negative plays, they're screwing up.
You want a stat for that, Lair?
Snaps. He doesn't see it. He's not throwing with anticipation. He's just playing. They had every advantage in these playoffs. They had major rest. They only played 2 games. They had major rest advantages against both teams, and it showed, and they needed it to beat the Rams. I don't know, man.
We've already played the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was last Sunday
which is also I think that's a false.
I'll be on with you Monday.
I really like New England. I like New England because I think New England has got a receiver. I think that's going to be able to make plays.
Diggs or Booty or Pop
Diggs,
Douglas?
Diggs.
Okay.
And then also
where was he?
I think not only is Diggs, really, really good, but I also kind of I think Seattle is just the perfect team to face if you're New England, because they've had everything going their way. They're Kenneth Walker has had really amazing games. I think he's outplayed, and Seattle and New England's really good against the run. So now you're going to actually ask Sam Darnold to do something, to actually carry a team. I also think Seattle's the wrong team because they are a one wide receiver team. I mean, Rashid hasn't done anything. So it's like you've got a one wide receiver team and a running game that's been really, really carrying you. Now I think you're going to take away that run game, and they're going to lean everything towards that one receiver. And I think this is going to be a much more uncomfortable game for Sam Darnold. And I'm expecting him to have a couple turnovers. And if he does, I think it's literally a coin flip game. I really do.
I mean, that requires a 2 turnover margin to be a coin flip game. Like, doesn't that, if he doesn't do that, if he performs like he performed against the Rams, where he goes 25 and 36 for 346 and 3 touchdowns.
I'm telling you, though, man, I watched that game. I mean, he was so a tick behind, and it just didn't matter because they just were that much better. But this secondary that New England has is better. And I think New England's got a really good secondary. You know, you say New England's Seattle's way better on special teams. Marcus Jones is a terrific return guy. So I mean, he could easily.
He's not Shaheed though.
He's not Shaheed, but he's a great return man in his own right. I just look at Seattle and I see, okay, they had a Niner team that wasn't ready for that game, and then it was everything about the Rams. A team they'd played now for the 3rd time, and it was a coin flip game at home with rest. Now they don't have the added rest, and they're not at home. They're in a neutral site against a team that's feeling really good about themselves. And there's and if there's, we're at this point too, it's like, if there was a major talent disparity, I'd go with it. But I don't see a major talent disparity. So then I go to the who's got more kind of magic going. I like New England's magic. I mean, it's truly magic. What they have done to this point is magical. Turn their season around from 3-14 to 14-3. I mean, he's the coach of the year. They're really playing well. They've got tons of confidence. The other thing is, like, there's young, there's old, and then there's baby. And that's what young is scary. Baby is not. Baby is like, hey, you know what? You don't even know what you don't know. And that's where Drake May is. That's the Drake May I see. He's not stressed at all. He should be, but he isn't because he's so new to the thing. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. But New England beat Denver in Denver. New England beat I think the best defensive team. You think Seattle's better? I like Houston.
I like Houston's defense a lot too. It's the only one that I think can have a conversation. But
they beat them. They beat Houston's defense.
And so did Seattle by the same exact margin.
Yeah, I'm just saying. But you're also talking about a New England team that has not lost since September.
So and I'm talking about a Seahawks team that has one loss since October.
Yeah. But once again, their playoff run, I think, was very, very fortunate. Very fortunate.
The Seahawks? Because I think most people make the exact opposite argument.
I think their playoff run, I mean, look what they got. They had a major rest advantage against an outgunned Niner team that really had fired their wad the week before.
When did the Patriots play anybody that was full gunned and didn't have a rest advantage? Because they had a rest advantage against Houston, and C.J. Stroud was completely spinning. You had a massive advantage against a outmanned and dead on arrival Chargers team, and then you win 10-7 against the backup quarterback for the Broncos?
Well, but there was weather there. I also kind of think that they believe in their coach. I mean, their coach is making right decisions. I don't know, man. I mean, Mike McDonald is a really good defensive coach, but you know what? I mean, you could make an argument that Clint Kubiak's mind is with the Raiders. I mean, you could make an argument that he's worried about his next opportunity, and he's already kind of moved on emotionally. I mean, I've seen this situation before. Let's just say this: if it comes right down to it, I would bet anything that this is a game and a really, really good game, as opposed to this is a blowout and a coronation. Like Seattle was too fast for Denver, but this is not. It's not going to work like that this time. This Seattle team is not going to be like overwhelming the Patriots, and the Patriots are down 14, down 17, down 21.
That's exactly my prediction.
Really, I don't see that at all. I think it's.
What do you said you're willing to bet anything. What are you willing to bet?
Yeah, let's wager. I'll wager. I'll absolutely wager. I love New England. Love New England to keep it close for sure. I would be absolutely shocked if this is like some kind of, one-sided Super Bowl where Seattle just absolutely dominates. I don't see Darnold. I don't see Darnold being able to put up those kinds of points on this defense, and I don't see New England being totally thwarted and overwhelmed like we've seen some teams overwhelmed by the fastest defenses. I think this defense is really good on paper, but I just don't see like impenetrable, because look what the Rams just did to it.
Yeah, but that's the Rams. It's a totally different ball game than what the Patriots have going on. And what happens if Drake May throws an interception? You keep saying Darnold's going to throw an interception that he's going to mess up.
Darnold's due for an interception because he throws a lot in his career and he hasn't thrown any in these playoffs. I don't know.
Didn't throw one against the Niners. Didn't throw one against. He didn't have
the Niners. The Niners are not a good team.
Come on, Lair.
The Niners are not a good team. The Niners. Come on, the Niner team that they played was totally outgunned.
No one's arguing that.
And the Niners had one. I said it going into the Philly game. The Niners had one big shot to fire, and they fired it. And then they went to Seattle, and they just died. And then all of a sudden, it was like, whoa, look at this. They're just totally dead.
I expected the Niners to lose against Seattle. I expected them to lose in Week 18. I expected them to lose in the wild card round again. I didn't necessarily expect it to be that big of an ass-kicking that early. But, again, when I see the Seattle defense, I see an absolutely transcendent, dominant unit. I have watched every ounce of their tape this year. I've been fascinated by them since before Week 1. Somewhere in Week 10 or so of last year, it became pretty apparent to me that Mike Macdonald had figured it out, that he had gotten the personnel right around the Ernest Jones trade. And I go, oh, buddy, it is absolutely on. And when I watch the New England Patriots, and I've watched now a bunch of them over the course of the year, I see a team that has gotten, you want to talk about magic carpet ride, just think about the quarterbacks that they've played and the situations that they've been in. So you just go through the wins. They lose to Buffalo on December 14th, but they beat Carolina. Okay, they beat Buffalo on October 5th. That's a nice win. They beat Spencer Rattler. They beat Cam Ward. They beat Shedeur Sanders. They beat Michael Penix. They beat Baker Mayfield. That was a close one. They beat, I don't even know who the Jets quarterback was on November 13th. They beat, I think it was Joe Flacco on, let's just pull that up. It was Joe Flacco on, who I saw today. Huge man, Joe Flacco. Really imposing figure that he struck at the Ferry building. November 23rd. I go to New York, and oh wow, they beat. I don't even think it was Jackson Dart. I think it was their backup. Let's just prove that one here. It was Jackson Dart. So hey, there's something there. On December 1st, they lose to Buffalo. They play at Baltimore, and you go, oh well, they beat Lamar Jackson, and I would say no, they didn't. They beat Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson threw for 100 yards in that game. It was 28-24. They beat Connor Cook, M-I-Z, and the Jets 42-10. They beat Miami, who everyone was getting fired, 38-10. And then it's been one of the easiest cakewalk schedules. You're looking at one of the worst quarterbacking performances in the history of playoffs to get to the Super Bowl. And I think everyone just holds them up. It's being held up by narrative. And narrative doesn't mean squat to me when I see a defense as good as Seattle's. And when I see an offense that, This
defense, though, Dieter, that you say is good as Seattle's, gave up to Blake Corum 6.1 yards per carry.
Yeah.
That's Seattle's defense. Seattle's defense against Stafford, who's 38 years old, got 1 sack on 35 dropbacks and watched him almost throw for 400 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then
It's the
Seattle's
single
run
best
game,
defense in the DVOA era.
but Seattle's run game ran for 2.9 a carry against the Rams, and New England's run defense is better than the Rams.
Mhm.
So, once again, I don't think the run game's going to be there.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a lot on Darnold. They've got one receiver. New England is a really good secondary. Their defense has given up like 8 points a game in the playoffs. They're playing well defensively as well. And then it comes down to who's going to take better care of the ball, Drake May or Stafford or Darnold. And Darnold's been really, really good in these playoffs. And Drake May, as you said, has been really, really not good in these playoffs.
But don't worry, though.
But who had the
Apparently
better
today,
year?
Drake May, quote, turned a corner and threw normally.
But Drake May is going to be a runner-up for the MVP of the league. Sam Darnold was considered to be the weakness coming into the playoffs, and now it's like, oh, Sam Darnold's really good. I don't think Sam Darnold's really good. I think that Sam Darnold's had a couple games where they've been able to run it a lot, but I mean now you've got, I think they're with no Charbonnet. Walker, they ran for 2.9 against the Rams. Now you're going to try to run it against New England. You're not at home. You're in a neutral site. I don't know. I see a very close game. I think this is a defensive slog. If you ask me how this is going to go, I think New England's defense is going to slow down Seattle's offense. They're going to get a turnover. They're going to slow down the run. They're going to take away JSN a little bit. They're going to make things difficult for Darnold. They're going to say, you're going to have to beat us. And he's going to beat him, and he's going to not beat him, and he's going to beat him, and he's not going to beat him. So I think they're going to be pretty inconsistent. I know Seattle's defense is good, but I think New England is going to be able to do a little something because the Rams did a lot of something. And, I mean,
how come no other team was able to do anything but the Rams this year?
But I mean, do you think Blake Corum 6 yards a carry is something that the Patriots between Travion Williams and Ramondre Stevenson, they couldn't do that? Because I kind of think they probably could. I think if Corum can go for 6 yards a carry, I think those guys can have an impact. I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see. I see a low scoring.
I mean, Kyron Williams went for 3.9. I mean, it was they ran. I'm not arguing that they didn't, but they also, didn't. They kept Devontae Adams in relative check. Stafford just has their number. Stafford's a great quarterback. He's the one quarterback who's made this thing work because he can hit those deep balls. He stands and delivers and hits those deep balls consistently. Sean McVay is an elite offensive coordinator. The 13 personnel gives them all sorts of trouble. Right? 13 personnel is how you combat what Seattle does on defense, because Seattle doesn't sub, and they say our guys are more versatile and more athletic than your guys. And for the 49ers, where you have, in the case of the playoff game, one versatile offensive player in Christian McCaffrey, yeah, they are. And they're going to absolutely snuff you out. When you go to 13 personnel with 3 tight ends and you're playing the same game of who's coming and who's going, it does create some issues. So unless I see the Patriots lining up in 13 personnel, but if they want to keep doing their 11 personnel thing, it's not going to work, because I have seen what happens when teams try to go straight up against the Seattle defense and try to do what it is they do. They get absolutely swallowed whole by a defense that, again, I think is going, after this is over, I have a very strong suspicion that a lot of people are going to be coming around on my current opinion, which I've held now for about 10 weeks, that this is the best defense in the last 15 years in the NFL. We'll find out on Monday.
I like the Seattle defense personnel wise. I really do. I like them, but this awesome defense that they had against Stafford got 3 hits on the quarterback last week, 3, and he dropped back a lot. Now you got a quarterback who's got mobility and will run a little bit. I don't know, man. I see a low scoring game, and I think this is going to come down to a field goal one way or another. I don't think New England's going to be overwhelmed by Seattle's speed or Seattle's defense, because
they've given up a sack on 16% of their dropbacks in the playoffs.
I just don't think they're going to get overwhelmed, though, because they've gone up against defenses that are right there. I mean, that are right there. Denver is got a really good front.
Yeah.
Houston's got a really good defense.
And they sucked.
But they beat those teams. And they beat Denver in Denver.
Because Jared Stidham was a quarterback in a snowstorm. And because they were playing C.J. Stroud. And you might not think that Sam Darnold and this Seahawks offense is better. I firmly do. They might not be great on their own in a vacuum, but they're sure as shit better than those two offenses.
We'll see, man. I'll take
Drake May's pressure to sack rate during the playoffs is 45%. There's only 2 words you need to know going into this game. Will Campbell. He can't protect his quarterback's blind side. And if you can't protect the quarterback's blind side, you're dead on arrival.
Doesn't mean you're going to win, though. I mean, hey,
the
Chargers had 5 sacks of Drake May. They lost.
Yeah, well, because they gave up like 14.
Well, because New England ran for 5 yards a carry. Yeah. New England ran 29 times for 146 yards. They ran for 5 yards a carry. Yep. So, I mean, New England, we'll see. I think this game is going to be definitely going to be a game. I would be very, very, very surprised if all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, Seattle's running away. I like the Seattle defense, but I definitely don't think it's going to overwhelm this New England offense, because I think this New England offense has done nothing but go up against really good defenses in these playoffs, and they found a way to win. And I just think they're going to find a way to win in this one as well. We'll find out. What do you want to wager? Let's wager.
$100.
$100 on what?
You can take the spread.
What is it exactly?
4.5.
Okay, let's do it. $100 on 4.5. I'll take New England.
Yep, I got Seahawks plus 4.5.
Let me see, where is it?
That gives you the close game argument.
4.5. Yep, I'll take New England. Well, let's just so Mrs. Kruger doesn't get nervous, let's make it 50.
1,000? Let's do it. That's fine.
I mean, it doesn't matter, but I mean, just in case she's watching me closely, we'll say $50 on the Super Bowl. We won't play with the spread, even if the spread moves around.
No, right now we're locking it in.
We're locking it in right now. I'm going to get Patriots plus 4.5, and you have Seattle minus 4.5.
I'm willing to play it up to double digits, by the way.
You're willing to go Seattle minus 9.5?
I'm willing to play it
well
into double digits. This is where my alt line prowess that earned me a tremendous amount of money on the island of Bimini would really come in handy. But I'm out of that game because all the major legal sports bettors are effectively criminals. So good luck with your advertising.
To me, it'll be interesting to see what Seattle can do if Seattle falls behind.
Yep.
Because we really haven't seen Seattle fall behind.
Well, we've seen them fall behind a lot, and what happens is their defense scores touchdowns. That's what's happened.
When was the last time they fell behind by any appreciable margin?
Oh, like week 17. Yeah, they fell behind. Their offense kind of sucked down the stretch, but their defense was so good. And then you look at the final score, and you're like, oh, they won in a blowout. Well, actually, it was like 3-0 at halftime. Then the defense comes out and gets 2 touchdowns immediately off of the first 2 defensive possessions. They score, and then the offense is like, oh, let's do it.
All right. Well, here we go. We got our wager. All right. So I'm taking New England plus 4.5.
Yep.
Let's get back to our topic here. What do the Niners now need to do to get on this level so that they're a Super Bowl contender? Mm-hmm. I mean, is it, I know they think they just need to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Other people see it as they need a lot. There's a lot on their to-do list. Mm-hmm. Including some people want to, switch, especially today with the switching of Al Guido's title. They're like, hey, you know what? Now move John Lynch into more of a president's role, replacing Guido, and go hire a young GM and go that route. They're not
just a vague young GM that will somehow fix it all. Like,
well, I mean, that's the that's like
I legitimately don't understand how people think John Lynch is doing a bad job. Like, I don't. Is he doing as good of a job as everybody else?
They've missed 10 times in the third round. I mean, their drafts in 21, 22, 23,
but
and
that was
24 don't look good. You
could've
can't
fired him
have
then.
4 bad drafts.
He did.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't have 4 bad drafts and not lose your place in line. And that's where they're at. They're no longer on that top tier. They're just really not.
I would venture to say that going into next year, do we have these odds actually? This is a good question because a couple of weeks ago, I said that the Niners could very well have the best Super Bowl odds for 2026 of all the teams. Now, there's a million transactions and things that need to happen. I don't know if any odds for next season are out. Obviously, I would imagine that the Patriots and the Seahawks will be very high on that list, given their current position. The Rams, I don't know. The Rams might fall off. I think everyone will be very bullish on the Bears. I don't know where those odds are right now. I think that the 49ers are going to be in the creme de la creme of Super Bowl odds for next year before any actual action happens, and that they can fall off of that platform with a bad offseason, or they could really bolster it and get very close because they have the head coach, they have the quarterback. There's going to be a lot of questions about the talent around that quarterback, and I think that's fair and a good place to start this conversation. But the defense is in a position to jump back up with the re-addition of Bosa and Warner and a lot of the young guys that I thought really came along late in the season. Not enough to, solidify a bad defense, but ultimately there's nice pieces there. They look like complementary pieces. I don't think that they need to do some sort of major revamp, and I did think that John Lynch has done a pretty effective job in rebuilding this roster over the last 2 drafts. They still have a long ways to go. They're not in a position where it's right there and sitting for them to where they don't have to do squat. They can just roll into next year and everything will fall into place. But what team going into next season can make that argument? I don't know if there is one where it's just everything set in stone. You just run it back and try again.
Well, I mean, there's always turnover across the board, but I mean, the reality is that they had an okay draft in 20. 21 was a tire fire, and and 22 was worse.
But we're talking about 2026.
23 was worse than that, and 24 right now doesn't look great. So now you've got in the last 5 drafts, you've got 4 that you're trying to forget, and that's kind of where they're at. They need multiple linebackers, multiple wide receivers, a primary pass rusher on the interior, a primary pass rusher opposite Bosa. So to me, you've got 2 real significant needs on your front line. And then I
don't know about the opposite of Bosa one, but okay.
Well, you're going to go with Bryce Huff?
Yeah, Mykal Williams, Bryce Huff. I think
Keon
White's a hell of a player.
Mykal Williams has 1 sack. Bryce Huff didn't hardly do anything in the second half of the year. I'm talking about a difference maker. I'm talking about a bookend. I'm talking about Zion Young or somebody.
Okay.
They don't have that kind of guy. I mean, they have.
You could
to me, they
draft
need
one. You're not
they
going to pay
need
for
2. One. They need 2 defensive players on their front line. They need at least 2 good linebackers. So that's 4 players on their front 7. They don't have a true number 1 corner, and some people would argue they could really use 1 more safety. So, I mean, you really look – I mean, to me, it's like you have about 6 needs on offense. You got about 6 needs on defense, and you're averaging like 2 good players a draft cycle. I mean, that little trend is going to have to reverse itself. They're not getting they're not getting a lot out of their drafts.
Here's the other why I'm quizzical about the whole bump John Lynch up thing. If he's so bad at this, why doesn't he leave the building? Why do you keep him in the building?
Well, because there's 2 roles that he mans. He is both the face of the franchise publicly and kind of the mature adult in the room and a counterbalance to Shanahan as far as organizational whatever.
Right.
But then there's also the bottom line of just the picking winners. And as much as I like John Lynch more than I like Trent Baalke, but I like Trent Baalke's drafting more than I like John Lynch's drafting.
Well, you love a good torn ACL.
He drafted DeForest Buckner. You drafted Solomon Thomas.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're John Lynch,
he also drafted Nick Bosa.
But that was 2019. That's 5 years ago.
Yeah.
6 years ago. Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, 2019. Since that, Their day one and day two picks have been Kinlaw, Brandon Ayuk, Trey Lance, Aaron Banks, Trey Sermon, Ambry Thomas, Drake Jackson, Ty Davis Price, Danny Gray, Jair Brown, Jake Moody, Cam Latu, Ricky Pearsall, Renardo Green, Dom Pooney. And then this year, Mikael Williams, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, Upton Stout. I mean, they have missed too many day two picks. So, I mean, I like John Lynch, but, Eddie D would have already made a move by now. And if what I'm hearing is true, that they're disenchanted with Pearsall and Renardo Green in any way, if that's true, then the 24 draft class is now called into question. And what do you really have there? You have Dom Pooney and Malik Mustafa. Once again, you're getting a lot of two-man draft classes. They had a pretty good draft class in 2019. Nick Bosa, Debo Samuel, Andre Greenlaw. So they had three guys in that draft. They got Ayuk, McKivitz, and Jennings the next year. So there's three in 20. That's three. But since then,
I mean, you're dropping it from 3 to 2 and pretending like this is catastrophic. Also, we're just presuming
three's not a good number either.
Okay,
not when John Schneider is going 5 for 5.
But he isn't really though. He isn't. When you look back on it, he's done very well very early. I'll give him that. He's a very good drafter early, and they have done an exceptional job in rebuilding that defense directly.
They just took Zabel and Eman Wari.
I'm not arguing that they don't do a great job. I'm not in any way saying that Schneider isn't better.
That's what's happened. That's what's happened. The Niners have not been able to keep up with those guys. I mean, I like Lynch as a guy, but so what? You have to hit in the draft, and you have to, you don't like Nick Martin. He was his third round pick this last year.
And I was the first person to point out.
Pearsall and Green aren't doing a whole lot right now for them. They were the first two picks in 24. So
very late. The year before
that, they go Brown, Moody, Latu in the third round. I mean, that's awful. And then before
they traded 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance. Like, listen,
and Drake Jackson, Ty Davis Price, Danny Gray, top 3 picks in 2022. They're just not getting it done. We can talk about.
I talked about it for 7 straight months for the last 3 off seasons on my show. This is not new territory. The counter argument to it is simply this: they also have Trent Williams and Christian McCaffrey. How'd that happen?
But I mean, so what? I mean, those
so what? Those are 2 of the most important players in the NFL over the last 5 years.
So what? So they made a couple of good trades.
That matters. You have to build the roster in every which way.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that you don't get credit for it. I'm just saying
they also drafted Brock Purdy last. I mean, did they not get credit for that? Is that just happenstance?
No, I mean, you do get credit for that. I mean, but once again, you're falling by. You have 12 needs in 2025, and it's because you missed so much.
Correct.
In day 2 of the draft the last 3 years.
Correct.
I mean, come on. I mean, it's like I don't. There's nothing to argue here. I mean, John Lynch is a good face of the franchise. But as far as drafting, his draft record is not good.
That's fine. Not good. That's fine. But then let's not do the whole.
That's why people are saying get a young GM, because they're thinking
they're looking for a half measure. Come out and say it. Say that he needs to go. Say that he needs to be fired. Get him the hell out of house.
He doesn't have to be fired. These organizations are big organizations. Heck, back when Eddie D ran the show, they had multiple guys, and there's no reason they can't have multiple guys again. And John Lynch could do. I mean, there's any number of things that he could potentially do. Just because you're saying, hey, you know what? We want to be better in our drafting, and we want to get somebody who's more of like a director of college scouting, and have that person. Like, maybe it's not an external person. Maybe it's promoting somebody internally.
I don't think there's anybody internally.
I mean, they have Josh Williams and other guys.
Isn't Josh Williams? I mean, this is the other thing. Like, I have been railing against the attrition that they've had in the scouting department and in the pro personnel department for years, and that they have not done an effective job. And this falls on John Lynch 100% in refilling the roster in the front office. And then it's like, oh, well, just promote Josh. Like, Josh Williams had nothing to do with any of the terrible picks.
I'm not saying promote Josh Williams. I'm saying you have a guy internally, if you wanted to promote him, that you could promote him. I mean, let's be completely honest about this. How many people are great at 4 things? Hardly anybody. Name me who's a great coach and a great GM? Who's a great scout and a great player and a great broadcaster and a great GM? I mean, these are very individual things. You know what I mean? These are very the odds that you're going to be great as a player and as a coach are low. Now you're saying, hey, be great as a player and then be great as a broadcaster and then be great as a talent evaluator. It's just not either I mean, whatever. I don't really care.
Well, let's also not forget why John Lynch was hired. He was hired in the role that everyone says that he should have. But Kyle proved to be so bad at actually managing the roster that he had to cede the power. He had to cede power to John because he couldn't handle the responsibility of also building the roster, which was his purview. Almost, I don't know if it was expressly contractually stated when he took over the job, but it was clearly evident to anyone who asked. They were overt about it. And after 2019, they lose the Super Bowl. They come back from 20, and he just kept giving John more and more power. So if the argument is that you need somebody who's not Kyle and not John, that's fine. I just want to hear names on who that should be, and I definitely don't want it to be somebody from inside the house because they're as culpable as all of them for the failure in the drafts and the lack of success. I'll also point out this. I thought John Lynch actually did a very nice job in season to acquire and bring in talent off the street that proved to be valuable to this team and got them to the playoffs. He gets credit for Mac Jones. He gets credit for Kendrick Bourne. He gets credit for Eric Kendricks. They did a nice job of holding this thing together when it should have fallen apart 7 different times. So, again, I'm not going to argue a point that
why should it have fallen apart? You just drafted your
the
franchise
substation
quarterback.
And all the injuries.
But I mean, you just drafted your franchise quarterback. He's in his prime. Your head coach is in his prime. Yeah. There's no reason this should have fallen apart. They had an easy schedule this year. They went to the playoffs largely because of their easy schedule, to be completely honest.
No, they lost to the good teams and they beat the bad ones.
They played a lot of bad teams and they found a way to go 12-5.
Their schedule ended up being middle of the pack. It wasn't anything close to the Patriots.
They have not been able to climb to the top of the mountain. It's not because of Shanahan that they're losing. It's because of they don't have enough talent. And I know people will be like, well, Shanahan blew it. Well, I don't know about that. I personally think that when you look at their team right now, the Seattle Seahawks don't need 12 guys. Green Bay doesn't need 12 guys. Philly doesn't have 12 needs, and they just have 12 needs. 12 needs. I mean, we're not talking about nothing needs too. It's like you have no linebackers at all. You have no receivers at all. So you need to completely rebuild your linebacking core and your receiving core. And, you drafted a receiver in round 1 not that long ago. So it's like you drafted a linebacker in the day 2 of the draft. So yeah, you're missing on these picks.
And then the other aspect of this, and I do think it should be noted, is that apparently, in the same way that Kyle got a lot of say over, total say over personnel, when Robert Saleh got hired, apparently he got handed the draft board this past year. Like, just pick whoever you want, Bob.
We don't really know that. I mean, we do.
We do.
We don't know that. We don't really know that at all. I mean, we really don't know who made those picks. For all we know, Shanahan made every pick. Seems like anytime people are frustrated with Shanahan, they just are like, yeah, we all know Shanahan makes all the picks. Well, did he?
No, they got a big kumbaya thing. I'll give them that. It's not as if Shanahan and Lynch were like, no, and Bob sent it in anyway. But they said
they
Bob
hailed their process. They love their process.
They love their process. Oh, it's so collaborative, Lair. Yeah, it's the most collaborative.
They talk a lot about their process and about all the different people involved. All I'm saying is they gotta hit more, they gotta miss less, and if they did, they would be better. And there's no real logical reason.
Groundbreaking analysis there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really crazy to think why they're not where they're at. They're not good. I watched them on the binoculars. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, oh my God, they don't have anybody on the front 7 that they actually want. There's nobody on their front seven in the playoffs that they actually wanted. Maybe CJ West. That's about it. Everybody else is like, what? How did this guy get here? How did that guy get here? They're just woefully lacking across the board. And now Seattle's got way more cap room, way younger team, way better team, and John Schneider's drafted circles around them. And we can sit there and apologize for these guys for the mistakes they've made.
For it, they've been.
But I mean, they
Seattle.
have to own it. They have to own it because that's the real reason. They're not. It's not some magic carpet ride thing. Oh, it's all blamed on Brock Purdy. No, they don't have enough good players. I mean, that's really as simple as that. I mean, who else was doing what the Niners were doing this year? As we're crediting them for putting together this team, who else was picking up guys off the street that they were starting in playoff games? Nobody.
And winning.
Yeah. And not 41-6 wasn't winning.
No. That's a different ball game though. But they could put together a roster with guys off the street that can beat the Philadelphia Eagles. That's not nothing. Now, they have a long way to go to be better than the Seattle Seahawks, without question. I've written this. I've said it a million times. That is their purview, is that they don't need to think about anybody else other than the Rams and the Seahawks. And I think the Rams are coming back to earth a little bit, just a little bit. They're going to have a really tough offseason, I think, this upcoming year. And Seattle, yes, they are in a position where they got a ton of money and they can do all this stuff. They also have to now pay a lot of their defensive players. So that cap space goes away. Now they get to maintain, again, what I think is the best defense of the last 15 years. And it's going to continue to be an absolute thorn in Kyle Shanahan's side.
They're really young, and they have a ton of cap room.
But honestly, it makes
cap room in football.
It makes the situation extremely simple and straightforward for the 49ers. And it's the same thing that I've been bitching, whining, and complaining about with the San Francisco Giants for the last couple of years. You have one job if you're the Giants. Go out there and beat the Dodgers. Do whatever it takes to beat the Dodgers. Because if you can beat the Dodgers, everybody else is easy. You have now the exact same clarity of vision if you're the San Francisco 49ers. Just beat the Seahawks. If you can beat the Seahawks, you can beat anybody. And they are in a position, if they do it right, which is a big ask given their track record, that they can do it. I'm not the one usually to sell hope here. They're going to have to do it, and if they don't, I'll be the first one to get in line and say they fucked this up. But ultimately, they are in a position salary-wise, roster-wise, I think, even with their needs, they can fill those needs. They have the ability to fill those needs. They're not in cap hell. They're not absolutely, so aged out that they can't possibly, it's one last run. They have somehow kept this thing relatively afloat when most teams would have bottomed out already. And they have a chance this offseason, if they nail it, which is a big ask, and some people will say it's impossible for them to do. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in the sense of they have to prove that they can't before I'm going to say no, because they have the ability to do it. They have the ability to do it. They listen to you and me more, Larry, they'd get a lot closer. And
well, they just say,
but they're in a position to do it. How far are they from the Seattle Seahawks right now? A long way. How much can they close that gap in one offseason? A hell of a lot.
All right. Well, let's talk about it for a second, because there was a documentary last night and tonight. It's going on right now. The Rise of the 49ers.
Yeah.
And, the first couple episodes obviously took the early years, and I lived it. I was a Niner fan growing up in the 70s, and I remember how bad they were, and they were bad. But they got good, and the real big moment for the 49ers was when they drafted Ronnie Lott in that 81 draft. They had Eric Wright, Carlton Williamson, Ronnie Lott. They drafted an awesome Hall of Famer in Lott. They drafted a perennial Pro Bowler in Wright. They drafted a very good starter in Williamson, and suddenly they had a redone secondary, and they looked really good. And I look at this team right now, and I'm like, you know what? This is exactly what they need right now. They, that team had Joe, that team had Walsh, but what they didn't have was a defense. And then all of a sudden, here came Ronnie, and here came Eric Wright, and here came the Niners, and they won a Super Bowl on the heels of it. And that's where they're at right now. They badly need fearsome defensive players. Fearsome.
Yeah.
But they also have 12, 6 or 7 big needs on offense. So they're going to have to balance that out because they probably need a starting tight end and they need a couple starting receivers and they need a couple starting offensive linemen. And they probably need a new running back and they really need everything except for a starting quarterback on offense. They've got a lot of needs. Let's just go right through it. Let's just say they don't have any needs on offense and they're just trying to build a fearsome defense.
Yeah.
Give me a fearsome defensive player in this draft
that they can draft, or just in general.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't say Ruben Bain or anything
because Ruben Bain scares the shit out of me. Let's be clear about that.
He's
That man
player.
Scares the bejesus out of me. I was watching. I have the All-22 of the national championship game. I have the All-22 of a shit ton of games, but I was watching the All-22 of the championship game because it honestly checked a lot of boxes for scouting, and I was like, oh, I legitimately feel fear looking at this Miami defensive line. So I would get one of them. It's not Bain. The answer you're looking for is Anthony Hill, the linebacker out of Texas. Sideline to sideline speed, plays like his hair's on fire. It's not going to be the physical intimidation that maybe you're looking for, that just mean some bitch you don't want to even come to his side of the field. I don't think that really exists all too often, but this guy can be your Azeez Al-Shaair. This guy can be your Dre Greenlaw. This guy can be somebody who you pair with Fred Warner, and you're like, I don't want to be at that second level. These dudes are too fast, too strong, and too crazy for me to mess around with. And Anthony Hill, this is a great linebacker class. You play Anthony Hill off ball, Jesus Christ. That's your guy at 27.
All right, I like that one. I agree. He's a fearsome defensive player. The guy that I saw this week that I'm like, wow, this guy is fearsome, is the Florida defensive tackle, Caleb Banks.
Yeah.
Now he's got some kind of a foot injury that probably needs to be investigated because he's had it a couple times, a couple different versions of this foot injury. And we all know, foot injuries on big men are, whether they're basketball players or football players, that's always a concern.
As Bill Walton once told me, big man, when the feet go, it all goes.
Yeah. I mean, and he's 6'6", 3 1/4, but this guy, man, and I've there's been good looking defensive tackles in this draft. I mean, Lee Hunter from Texas Tech and Daryl Jackson, Jumbo from Florida State. He's 330, and there's others.
Yeah.
But this guy is just when you hear Tim Ryan talk about, man, the Niners need a war daddy up front. I think that's when I think of war daddy, I think of this kid Caleb Banks. He's got the footwork of a major pass rusher, but he's got the heft of a two gap tackle. He's big and ridiculously quick, and just it's really he's a foot injury concern. But outside of the foot injury, if the foot checks out, man, this guy is really, really special. Caleb Banks.
Yeah, I like Banks a lot as a second round player. I'm a little bit concerned. I watched a lot. I watch mostly SEC football during the season. He had these flashes of absolute brilliance. You can't argue it. And then there was just a lot of arm tackles and high pad level. And I don't know how much of that is just Florida quitting on a coach that was effectively fired after week 4 or 5. And I don't know how much of that is him. But when he's on, my comp for him is DeForest Buckner. I'm sure Tim Ryan would call DeForest Buckner a war daddy. I'm not sure DeForest Buckner would ever be described as fearsome, but he is a physically intimidating presence, to be sure. If we're talking about dudes who have a little bit of crazy, though, we're talking about somebody who just, I don't know, man, that guy's wired a little bit differently. Zion Young out of University of Missouri. He was a man against boys against the Senior Bowl, at the Senior Bowl. That it was comical how he was wrecking these dudes in one-on-ones.
6'5", 265, lots of athleticism, lots of strength.
It's preposterous. He's perfect. He's a perfect specimen of a defensive end.
He's got a little bit of a rap sheet. He got busted in the Michigan game for fighting. He's also got a DWI. So there's some glitches there. There's some warts that make, this is kind of what Dante Whitner was talking about. Can you dance with some of these guys that have some troubled issues, or are you going to take them off your board because he's got a DWI?
Does he have a gold helmet, Lair? I don't think so. I don't think he's a gold helmet guy. But I'll tell you this: he makes your defense a hell of a lot scarier. Now, the issue is that goes both ways. I mean, Charles Haley is a real stretch here, but like Charles Haley is a kind of player that I'm sure that you would say like he gives you an element that they couldn't recreate to the point where they brought him back with Mariucci for a playoff game. Like he turns it off, but when he turns it on, Banks did this to a degree. But Zion Young did it better than I think anyone I've seen so far. And I watch every Missouri game intently as a Missouri fan. He was aggravating. He's good for 15 a game, much like Dre Greenlaw. He's just going to do something dumb and hit a quarterback when the quarterback has already taken 7 steps out of bounds and is running back in. He's going to hit him for no good reason and get 15. He'll get thrown out of games. But there are times when he just decides, this series is over. And he has 3 pressures, 2 sacks, and the series is in fact over. There's not a lot of players in this draft outside of the guys in the top 5, 6, 7 that can actually do that. And I cannot tell you, knowing a tremendous amount about it, I cannot tell you that the risk is worth the reward. But if you're looking to get mean and fearsome and give your defense some teeth, give your defense something to fear, other teams fear. Zion Young, AJ Hill, these are guys that you can do it. And Zion Young probably is the perfect pick at 27 for this because, we might flame out on this one, but this guy might also be the reason that we can move on from Nick Bosa in 2 years because actually it was all a little bit too much hullabaloo. And it turns out he was just at a poorly coached program at the University of Missouri. And, it turns out he's actually fantastic. And he, you were willing to ride with Aldon Smith for a long time because Aldon Smith was just fantastic. Again, that's another long distance from Zion Young, from what I understand, but you're not getting a player of this caliber at 27 unless there's some warts. And this team is probably in a position where getting the floor and the safe pick isn't in its best interest. You need to go for the big booms. And if you fail, I guess you're in the exact same position you were with like every other draft that you've had.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I'll tell you a guy that I kind of came across that is just I really like. He was the defensive player of the year in his conference. His name's Caleb Proctor.
Yeah.
And he's from Oak Grove, Louisiana.
Yeah, southeast Louisiana. I just think he's too small.
He's 280 pounds, but man, he is a rusher with violent hands.
Yeah, he's fun.
And gigantic hands, like
Where
11-inch
would you play
hands.
Him, though?
I mean, he's a three technique rotational rusher. I mean, he's a 5 technique, but I mean, I think he's a 3 tech. I think he's a 3 tech pass rusher.
Yeah, I think he can work for the Niners. And I'm with you that because he is such a great gap splitter, because he has a couple of really cool moves, because he's low, he's a squatty little fella at 285. He could be really fun as a 3 tech, just get in the backfield, do something, the way that they wanted Javon Hargrave to work, the way that John Franklin Myers works, these kind of guys who are undersized that just get in there, figure it out, the way that Kalia Davis should work but never does. I can buy that, but and maybe I haven't gotten a lot of Southeast Louisiana all 22. But I didn't love him at point of contact. So if someone actually gets hands on him, it becomes a little bit of a problem. I'm willing to go that route in day 3 when it's like, what do you lose? But there's so much buzz around him from being really good at the Shrine Bowl that it feels like he could even get into the round 3 conversation, and he feels like his boom is exactly what you said. A nice rotational 10 to 15 snap a game pass rusher that you slide in on 3rd downs, you play on 2nd downs, and he just gets in the backfield and wreaks havoc, and he's really fun. That's a nice boom. That's a nice rotational, solid player that's an asset to a winning football club. The bust is that you can't play him ever. And if you're using a 3rd-round pick on that guy, well, I guess you're in the exact same situation you've always been in.
Oh, I don't think he's a 3rd-round pick.
Either do I, but there's a lot of buzz around him right now.
He's
and
a
I think
day 3 pick for sure.
Yeah.
He's a day 3 pick. I mean, I would say he's a fifth round pick.
That's the exact grade I have on him currently.
But I mean, I'm just saying, this guy's a dog. He's definitely can rush the passer. I mean, they're going to need some. I mean, another guy, two guys that I think are really special. I think Caleb Downs and Bud Clark are really special. Emmanuel
Caleb
McNeil
Downs is
Warren,
the best player in this draft.
Yeah, Downs is going to be probably a pick in the around 15, 10, 15, somewhere in there. I think, safeties always seem to fall a little bit, but he's a great player.
My
Dylan
initial
Thielemann's a good hell of a player as well.
Jake really likes Thielemann. I haven't cross-checked his tape yet. Legitimately, one of the things that I was thinking about when you said Ronnie Lott and in all this, it's like, okay, well, you can't have Ronnie Lott playing safety anymore, right? It's a totally different position than it once was.
Corner.
Yeah, right. So you can't have that kind of temperament. You can't play the same way that Ronnie did and create that intimidation at that position. You have to do it through psychological means and being super fast and just being a specter, a ghost out there, just wiping everything away before it even started. And the quarterback's 2 beats behind you. Downs is that kind of a player, and if he's hanging out anywhere outside of the top 10, I legitimately believe that the 49ers would be well served to trade up and get it. Like, if you're talking about a bold move that the Niners can make to really improve their team, getting Caleb Downs, there's no such thing as a zero risk proposition. But man, this guy has been the best player in college football for the last 2 years. He was a captain on the Ohio State team after he transferred in. He was a starter and a captain for Nick Saban as a freshman, led Alabama in tackles as a true freshman. This guy has been, he's a great pedigree. This guy is as safe a bet as any player. I have him as the number 1 player on my board. It's not even particularly close, and I'm a Mendoza guy. I would take Downs first overall if you gave me the pick. Doesn't matter, what the Raiders. I would take him first overall, and if he's hanging out anywhere between 10 and 15, the Niners should go up and get him. They should find a way to go up and get him, and it's going to cost a pretty penny. And I don't think that they would ever complain about the cost in 2 or 3 years' time. I think they'd forget all about it because he'd be so good and so impactful. I believe that safeties are destiny, and this is the best safety prospect, I think, since Derwin James.
He's terrific. He's a second-generation NFL player. His dad played for the Giants, Broncos, and Falcons. His uncle's Dre Bly, the former North Carolina corner, and
brother Josh Downs.
And this is a impact safety. I mean, this is a guy who is going to be a Pro Bowl kind of a player for sure. He's a great player. So, yeah, I mean, somebody like that, they need stars. They've been drafting just for need. Stop drafting for need and start drafting great players. You got to, at some point, the 49ers got to start drafting some great players.
When you have all these needs, you can just take great players. Sometimes those two things can completely coincide.
I mean, Bud Clark had one of the best weeks at the Senior Bowl I think I've seen. I mean, his coverage ability is really, really great. AJ Halsey, I mean, if you're liking that Ronnie Lott hitter, Halsey will start you for LSU.
Yeah.
He's one of the big hitters in this thing. This Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo is rangy as heck. And
yeah,
what a tremendous talent he is.
I haven't gotten anyone to come through for that all 22 on him yet.
He's
good highlight
though.
package.
I mean, there's a lot of guys there to like. All right, let's talk about free agency for the Niners because they're gonna need some help in free agency. Do you see a free agent or a cap casualty? Do you see a veteran that you're saying, you know what, this guy's a good fit for the Niners?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because I've thought a lot about the left guard situation. The expectation is that Spencer Burford's going to get paid, and the Niners are not going to be the one to pay him, nor should they be. I'm a little bit skeptical of that, but I've had just enough people, both with the Niners and outside the Niners, be like, oh, yeah, he's like 10 to 15 a year. It's like, okay. Like, I like Spencer Burford more than I think anybody in the 49ers media space, but even I'm like, come on, let's get serious here. So he's gone. I'm very curious about Wyatt Teller right now, the outstanding left guard for so many years for the Browns. He's coming off of a big contract, right? I think he was getting $14 million a year. This past year was just weird. I mean, everything's generally weird with the Browns, but this past year, he's 31, was really weird. He gets benched halfway through the season. People are kind of wondering if it was political in nature. There's a strangeness to it. He was unquestionably a little off this past year. I think he can bring that brings his value down. But if you're getting 1 or 2 years of prime Wyatt Teller is a bar none perfect fit at left guard for what the 49ers want to do on offense. He can run the gap stuff, sure, but you get him out and pull, nobody's better. He's a mauler in close spaces, and I just think that Wyatt Teller, if you can get the right version of him at the right price, which might be a balance that's impossible to strike, that would be outstanding for San Francisco. If he's coming down into the single-digit millions, you get him on a short-term deal, kind of a 1+1, maybe a 2+1, and you can get him physically right, or you're just betting that actually he was fine in Cleveland. I watched him last year, all the snaps he had last year in Cleveland, which was a real tough watch, frankly. And a real waste of like 3 hours. I thought he looked fine. I don't think he looked as good as he looked in 24 or 23 or 22, but I didn't see that big of a drop off, and I could kind of get myself into the mind space of being like, I don't know, maybe he just didn't want to be there anymore, which I can totally understand. Kevin Stefanski clearly didn't want to be there anymore at a certain point. I think Wyatt Teller would be awesome for them. And when you look at the rest of the left guard class, just the guard class in general, I think it's going to be tough to find a day one starter in the draft unless you're taking a tackle that can slide inside for a year or two. I don't love Ed Ingram as a mauler. I think it's going to be too expensive. I think David Edwards is definitely going to be too expensive. I kind of like Dylan Parham as a discount guy to kind of toss in there in a mix of 3 or 4 dudes, and then you can maybe figure it out at camp. But if you just want somebody to set and forget, hopefully, Wyatt Teller's the risk I'm willing to take. I think he'd be a really great fit at the least sexy position of all the 49ers needs.
I don't know if they're going to pay a guard. I mean, he made $14 million this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to get $14 million on the market. He might, in which case it's all moot. But if we can get him into the $7-8 million range, this is the kind of guy that you pay. This is the kind of guy that you make that bet on.
Parham, I like. He's nasty, and he's a fighter.
Good mover too. I think Parham got done dirty by the Raiders. I think it's been 5 offensive line coaches in 4 years. Like
the guy that I would go for is Zion Johnson. I liked him at Boston College, and it hasn't worked out for the Chargers. And he's only 26. Now he made $3 million this year. He's probably going to get a nice little payday in free agency, but. Right. I like Zion Johnson's strength, and I like his youth a little bit more. He's 5 years younger than Teller, and he's going to be cheaper. Yep. I mean, if you're going to go for the Browns guard, I kind of like Petonio, who's even older and more broken down. But I mean, he's interesting. I kind of like Jennings Dunker as a guard.
He'd have to be a guard. I don't think he can play tackle at the NFL.
So I mean, he to me looks like.
He's got that snatch trap down pat.
Keelan Rutledge, I like a lot, quite a bit from Georgia Tech. I mean, the Pregnon from Oregon, Basantis from A&M. I mean, these are good players. Bo Stevens from Iowa.
I'll give you one kind of sleeper that I can't quit. I really can't.
The Oklahoma kid has got a lot of talent too.
Yeah, the center. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Fabechi, Nawawu, or whatever.
I'll tell you the guy that I can't get over. Is Pat Coonan the center for Indiana?
Coogan,
sorry. I can't
He's
quit
not
him.
An athlete.
He's not an athlete, but man, I don't mind him at guard. Like he moves pretty good. He moves like he's a dumpy fella. He's got big old dumpy legs.
He won the MVP of the Rose Bowl.
I know. He
was good at Notre Dame. I like him, but I just think that it's one of those things where
he's a day 3 pick, to be fair.
And also his movement, the Niners want guys who can absolutely run off the ball, and he just doesn't.
But my thought is this. If we're focused, and again, this is maybe asking too much of the San Francisco 49ers, but if you're focusing on how do you beat the Seahawks, how about we start with maybe a little less movement and a little more anchor on the offensive line? How about you start getting some dudes who can handle the ball up front? Because they were in the trash compactor from Star Wars, snap after snap against Seattle, who they don't have bags. They don't have crazy pass rush moves. What they do is they push you really hard and really consistently all the way across the front. And you can do all your angles and all your pulls and try to, get off the line faster. What's going to happen is they're going to pick you up and they're going to move you backwards. So how do you compete with that? And I think you're going to need somebody who's got a dumpy ass on them a little bit and can hold the damn line for a while. And again, I'm not advocating that Pat Coogan starts at left guard, but I want to see this guy in the mix a little bit. I can't quit him. I think there's a lot of interesting guards.
Oh no, believe me, I've been all over this guy. I like him. He's 6'5", 310. He's played at Notre Dame. Then he came to Indiana. They ran the ball. I love Kalen Black, the running back that they have. To me, that would be the back that I would try to pair with CMC. But yeah, Coogan, you're talking about a late day 3 guy. I mean, he's probably going to go in the 6th round or later.
I put a 4th round grade on him, frankly. I mean, that doesn't mean he'll go there, but I put a 4th round grade on him.
Oh, I guarantee you he'll be there in the 5th round.
Okay.
But the guy that I like is Brian
50?
Park. Well, I actually think Coogan's such a poor athlete that that he's going to be there in the 7th round. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Brian Parker from the 2nd from Duke, the right tackle who's got short arms, and he
looked really good at center.
Yeah, I mean, he looks really good at center. He's
a movement and angle guy, right?
But he's a nasty guy. I mean, to me, he is so nasty. I also like Logan Jones from Iowa. All the Iowa guys are pretty good to me this year. I like Bo Stevens. I like Dunker. I like this Logan Jones a little bit. But my favorite center is definitely this Brian Parker. He is just nasty, and he just wants to fight it out, and there's something really tough about him.
I think my number one center is Connor Liu out of Auburn right now. I just thought he had really clean tape.
Yeah, he's considered to be a high level.
Yeah, I have Brian Parker at 82 overall in the tackle class at 82 overall.
Bo Stevens could be a center too.
Bo Stevens can be a center.
So that's another guy to take a look at.
I thought Jake Slaughter was pretty good at the Senior Bowl. I'm kind of torn on Slaughter. He feels like a Niner though.
There's the Auburn guard, the combo from Auburn. I think they have Xavion Miller, and they have Dylan Wade, and there's another guy as well for Auburn. Auburn had some enormously strong offensive linemen, number 77.
And all it did was get their quarterback sacked repeatedly this past year.
They just
to be fair, he was off. Dylan Gabriel was awful. Like, you watch it and you're like, man, why is their offensive line giving up all these sacks? And it's like, oh, because Dylan Gabriel's the worst quarterback you've ever seen. I think it was Dylan Gabriel. Sorry.
I'll tell you, the guy who was just absolutely amazing was the ASU guy. I mean, Max I've
spent a lot of time with him. I'm out on him. I'm out.
He's just the movement ability at 330 is
the pad level. The pad level's tough. The pad level's real tough.
You got to remember this. He hasn't played very much. This guy did not play football in high school.
What did I tell you on Wednesday, Larry, when I talk to people that I trust about offensive line? And if I got one thing pegged, it's people who know something about offensive line. They love talking to fellow fat guys. And they're like, this is going to be the guy that everyone's frothy about, that everyone's going to be about. And it's not to say that there's not merit there. But you watch the tape, and he's just such a project. He's such a project.
Yeah.
And when you have Dunker, Monroe Freeling, I mean, if I wanted to do a project, I'd get Caden Proctor instead. Hope I can take 20 off of him because that guy can play running back. So if we're talking about an athlete, I'd rather teach him that. And I do think that there's a lot of really interesting guys. The guy that was most impressive, I thought was the best player during Senior Bowl practices, bar none, was Demetrius Crownover
from A&M.
Oh my God. That's my guy. That's the dude.
He's a little lazy footed. I watched him a lot this year because I watch A&M every week. He's like one of those guys that when he's ready to roll, he looks great.
Yeah.
But he's not always ready to roll.
Yeah. Big meat takes a lot to move. But when it's like, I don't love his movement ability. I thought his footwork when it was on, and I agree with you that it was not always there, but he never felt sloppy or kind of over his skis. Also, you just can't run through him. You can run around him, but you hit him and you stop every time.
He's very strong.
Gargantuan. And I loved his movement ability in the run game off the ball. Like, I felt like it was really positive. Jake and I are disagreeing on this right now. Like, I think you could play him at guard in like a Mekhi Becton style. Probably doesn't work for the Niners because they got an itty bitty quarterback, but like, I don't know, man. Crown over was awesome. And I have like 30 screenshots from the Senior Bowl, these one-on-one practices, of the looks on the scouts and GMs and coaches' faces when Crownover was doing these one-on-one reps, and it was like they had seen Jesus. They were just, it was great. It was, nobody else got any kind of reaction like this. And I didn't notice it until like the second or third time I watched it, because I'm like, oh, surely I'm missing something. This guy's absolutely wrecking in one-on-one drills. This is awesome. Like, this is, it's like, it's pleasing to the soul to watch this guy just engulf really good pass rushers. And then I'm like, well, what, I see Ryan Pace back there in the back on one of these videos. I'm like, Pace was a former offensive lineman. He seems to fancy himself an offensive line guy. Not that he can draft any of them. I wonder what he looks like. And he was just looking over to Pioli, like, are you seeing this? Are you seeing this? And then you look at all the other coaches and GMs, and they're just like, yeah, let's do this.
The guy that to me looked amazing was Emil Wagner from Notre Dame. I mean,
Shrine Bowl.
You're talking about 6'6", 305 with the frame to be like 6'6", 330 in 2 years.
Yep.
And he just looked awesome.
He
Long
was my number
arms,
one at the Shrine
super
Bowl.
tough. Burying people, doing that Trent Williams block where he basically just blocks you down into the ground.
Snatch trap, yeah.
I mean, just really impressive. He to me, and I'm a big fan of J.C. Davis, though I did see Zion Young bull rush him, just ferociously one time. But I do like J.C. Davis from Illinois.
Illinois has some really good talent. It's high floor talent out of Illinois.
To me, I don't see lots of tackles. It's a tough spot. Let's talk first. So to me, you're going to have to get great on the defensive line. You got to you need great players on defense. You need great players on offense, on the offensive line. I mean, they have to make a reinvestment there. Free agent wise, the two guys that I really like, and they're not free agents right now. They're more considered to be cap casualty candidates. Mm-hmm. But if they are, I like the idea of taking Christian McCaffrey and using him as more of a scat back and signing like a David Montgomery. The two backs, I think the Niners need a couple backs because they really need to use Christian more as a receiver. What I'm thinking is David Montgomery in free agency, Kalen Black from Indiana in the draft, and pair those two guys with Christian as your three-headed running back monster this upcoming year. I like the idea of using Christian a little bit less and using him more as a receiver. You flex him out, use him as a receiver more, get some other running backs with Jordan James and just, have a little bit more depth and a little bit more, a little bit more depth at running back. So I like that guy. And I also like Nick Allegretti, who he's a friend of mine, and he played with the Chiefs. Then he almost signed with the Niners, but he signed with the Commanders. Mm-hmm. Now the Commanders are going to make him a cap casualty, and Allegretti can play right guard, left guard, center. He's strong. He's good against the run. He's a good run blocker. Mm-hmm. I think his price tag is going to be very, very modest.
It will.
To me, that's the interior player that I would try to get in free agency is Allegretti, and I would like to get Montgomery, and I want to start running the ball a little bit more.
Yep.
I want a better offensive line, but I want a big, powerful between the tackles runner, and that can help Christian. And I think if the Niners could do that and run the ball, I think their chances of going to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy go way, way up.
Let me give you another cap casualty possibility that I like. Jonathan Allen from the Commanders. I feel that he's a mean sumbitch.
Yeah.
He fits what they need. And then if you're looking for another running back, I think that they really need to seriously look into Tyler Algier out of Atlanta. He's a kind of a bewitching player. No one really knows what he is. what I know is when he gets the ball, he just does it. He just gets it done. And he's coming from a situation where, Bijan is unbelievable and he's going to get all the carry, and Algier is a free agent, and he's probably not going to be in that top tier of free agents, though I've gotten very conflicting reports. I've heard anywhere between $2 and $12 million a year for Tyler Algier from people that I go to for these sort of things.
That's a lot.
It's a lot because no one knows what he is. And so some teams are again, no one can tell me which ones yet. Some teams, it's suspected, will value him like a true number one back, and they'll pay him that true number one back money in the way that an ETN is going to get it this offseason and such. And then there's other teams that just say, oh, no, he's a complimentary back. And a complimentary back doesn't make squat in this league. They make $2, $3, $4, $5 million. And which is not squat to us, but in the NFL, it's all relative. If you can get Algier to come in and do what he did in Atlanta behind Bijan for Christian McCaffrey, he's going to get more reps. So it's like, hey, you didn't like being the number 2 to Bijan Robinson because, how do you not give Bijan Robinson the ball all the time? Guess what? We can pretend like you're doing the exact same thing here, but you're going to get all the carries because that guy's getting injured real quick. And it's a bad analogy for most audiences. On my audience, on Dieter and Hutch Show, I think people get it because they're a bunch of dorks. And I mean that in the most positive way possible because I'm a dork. But there was this video game out of Japan that my friends used to play when they got really high called Katamari Damacy, where you would just roll things from you were a little stick man, and you would just grab things off the ground, and it would create this ball, and it would just keep adding more and more. It would snowball, in effect. And you had to get the ball really big. So you had to keep rolling. So, here's a stapler, and here's a pencil, and it would just roll and roll and roll. That's how I see Tyler Algier run. He's like the Katamari Damacy ball, just snowballs, just more and more and more. He's in that David Montgomery role, but he's younger and fresher. And while David Montgomery's a wonderful player and I think would be an asset, I'd rather pay a little bit more to have the fresher legs. And I think that Algier can do pretty much the same thing. Also, you kind of have an in with Raheem Morris now. Don't know if that's worth anything, but better than what you had.
Well, that's the other question. Now Raheem Morris comes over. I was thinking of guys that fit with Raheem Morris that I could see coming with him. The guys that I came up with would David Onyemata.
Yeah, I think he's going to be too expensive. He's also 33.
He's 33, but he is a good player. He'd probably
good.
Be one of their better interior players, and he's got a little bit of pass rush inside, so he might be worth it. He might be worth it.
Maybe if the price is right. Yeah.
Obviously Kyle Pitts would be a tremendous get.
Stefanski's not letting Kyle Pitts leave.
I can't imagine he would get out of there. But the other guy that makes a lot of sense on the Falcons,
Troy Anderson.
Well, a lot of people like Troy Anderson, the linebacker. I was thinking not necessarily a Falcon, but a Ram, Kobe Durant. Kobe Durant really developed under Raheem Morris. He's a free agent. He's a corner. The Niners could use another corner. He's actually pretty game. I could see Kobe Durant being, following Raheem Morris to San Francisco.
That's a very good option. I was thinking there was one more there.
D'Angelo Malone is always been one of my favorites. He played at Western Kentucky, but he what is the front? Are the Niners going to run a hybrid front, or is it going to be a wide 9? If it's going to be a wide 9 where they want their ends to be these big edge-setting 270-pound guys, then Malone's not your guy.
Right.
But if you are going to run some kind of a hybrid scheme, Malone might be a perfect guy because he is really a very good stand-up rusher in a 34 front. And if you're going to have some kind of variation of 4-3-3-4, D'Angelo Malone might be a fit.
There's another name, Olamide Zaccheaus, who played with the Bears this past year. I have a hard time believing that the Bears are going to let him go. He was very effective for the Falcons. He's kind of been really effective everywhere that he's gone. A pro's pro receiver, runs the routes the right way. A slot guy, but you can play him all across the field. If you need to build out the wide receiver room and you're not going to go and get Romeo Doubs, or you're not going to go get Alec Pierce, or you're not going to trade for Jordan Addison, if you're not going to go big, but you need to now get some serious depth, you got to buy a bunch of guys, kind of like Olamide Zaccheaus. I'd start with Olamide Zaccheaus. It's not a great wide receiver class in terms of free agencies. It's a great wide receiver class. for rookies, but we know how Kyle Shanahan feels about rookie wide receivers. I think, Calvin Austin's going to, I think, probably get priced out. I think he'll probably get bumped up into that tier 1 or just shy of tier 1, which he doesn't deserve to be. He's a good player, but like he's not there. And then it kind of gets really hairy, really
How about
fast.
Arnold Ebiketie?
I couldn't tell you anything about him.
Well, he played at Penn State, and he's an edge rusher for the Falcons. He's 27. He made $2.2 million this year. He's due to make $9 million AAV in free agency, so a lot of people think he's going to get paid. But Ebiketie, I think, is an interesting guy just because he's younger and he is a rusher. We shall see. What do you think as far as the hire of Morris? A lot of people were really critical of Gus Bradley, and they used numbers to say, well, Gus didn't do this, Gus didn't do that. But this guy also has never had a top 10 defense. He's never had nowhere close to a top 5 defense.
Mm-hmm.
So is this just a move to make Kyle? Is this just another one of Kyle's buddies that is going to make him happy? But how great of a coordinator is Morris, since he's never had a top 10 unit or anything close? He's never had a top 12 unit. I don't know that he's ever had a top 15 unit. I couldn't believe
he's had a number 1 unit in that his team won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I mean, they were 17, 19, and 21 as far as where those defenses ranked in total defense, in that total defense category. So I don't know. I mean, I think that you got to look beyond the numbers. I really do, for coordinators. And I was making that argument about Gus Bradley. And I would probably make that same argument. I mean, I see the advantage in Morris being, hey, Kyle likes him. He'll develop young talent. He's flexible. He's a player's coach. He'll usually get the most out of the young DBs. They got a lot of young DBs that need developing. So there's lots of traits that I think make him a good choice. But if you're looking for, hey, this guy, where this guy goes, top 5 defenses follow, no.
He's extremely well respected.
Right.
And let me put it to you this way. I'm under the understanding that had Chris Shula, the Rams DC, gotten a head coaching job, that Raheem Morris would be being announced as the Rams defensive coordinator right now, that he had a standing offer from Sean McVay to come back in that job. Not dissimilar.
They won the Super Bowl together. It makes sense.
But he and you mentioned I think Jake calls it ruthless pragmatism. He's not tied to any system. I won't name names. I found some of the discourse around Raheem Morris to be wildly misinformed, even though this is all readily available data. He literally switched from a 3-4 to a 4-3 this past year.
Right.
And I want to give credit. I want to give credit to Jeff Ulbrich, who did an outstanding job for that Atlanta defense, which was a real work in progress and had a lot of players that were, drafted under certain conditions that didn't exist. But they blitzed at a medium rate this past year. They had the 4th highest sack rate in football. That tells me something. You know what it tells me? When you watch them, they're aggressive, and they're aggressive at the right times. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see from a defensive coordinator. I want airs of commission as opposed to airs of omission. You compare that to Gus Bradley, who didn't run a single simulated pressure at all in 2023 as the defensive coordinator of the Colts. Not a single, didn't even try it once. And it's like, you watch these defenses in the NFL today, and if you're not doing things that are aggressive, perhaps even reckless, to put offenses on the back foot, you are barbecue chicken. You're just done. And this bend but don't break nonsense is a great way to die. It's just, you're just sitting there waiting to get carved up. I just put $50 on the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl. I don't think Clint Kubiak is all that great. I think Clint Kubiak got the first week of a Kyle Shanahan install and never got the master's or PhD in it. But that's good enough to put a team into the Super Bowl. That's good enough to where I think his team is going to run away with the Super Bowl. So that is base level of what we're dealing with at the offensive level. Legitimately, Clint Kubiak, I feel, is average, maybe even below average. And that guy's good enough to carve up defenses that are just sitting there willing to take it. we're going to go out and we're going to play our style. We're going to do cover 3 and this and that. You can get away with that crap if you're DeMeco Ryans and you have the meanest sons of bitches south of the Mason-Dixon line. Like, you can get away with that. But Mike Macdonald has a defense that is just as impressive, and he's doing stuff. They're trying stuff. No, they're not subbing, but they're coming in every which direction with their guys. You think about what Brian Flores, and it's so funny, a lot of people who, and again, I'm not trying to make straw men out of this, but like there seemed to be this undercurrent of people who were like, I'm okay with Gus Bradley, but also if Brian Flores is actually available, I'd love to get him. And it's like, well, how can you hold those two? They don't do any of the same stuff.
Because they're not looking at that level. They're looking at just names.
It's just wild. So Brian Flores' entire system is, we don't have the dudes. So what we're going to do is we are going to be so unbelievably aggressive all the time that you're not going to know who's coming and going, because we're going to put 9 guys on the line of scrimmage, and we're basically going to make quarterbacks who are completely frazzled and under siege because they don't know who's coming and going, immediately breaking any zone principle on the blocking, on offensive line blocking. We're going to absolutely wreck them up front, and then we're going to force quarterbacks into quick decisions on if we're playing quarters or palms on the backside. So basically, if we're sitting, layman's term, if we're sitting in cover 2 or if we're carrying up to cover 4. And it's that's their entire thing. They get these interceptions because they know, oh, well, the answer is in the play, as Kyle Shanahan likes to say a lot. And so many guys from the Shanahan tree just go, oh, no, the answer's in the play. We don't do hot routes. And when someone blitzes and we have one extra rusher coming in, there is a certain prescribed answer to that in the play. So what does Brian Flores do? He makes a guy go and stand where that guy's going to be. And that's how, like, Andrew Van Ginkel gets 5 interceptions a year, because he knows where that guy's going to be and he just stands there. It's all to say that guy's the most aggressive. He's just bringing it at all times. And he's willing to get absolutely cooked a lot, frankly, because he knows that he's going to get the ball from you because your answer's in the play and we've broken your rules and your quarterback's going to get frazzled and go. Macdonald does a lot of the same stuff. Again, DeMeco Ryans doesn't, because he can just get home with 4 whenever he wants. We should all be so lucky. So that is the way you play defense in the modern NFL. That is the way you have to do it. The rules are built to power offenses. You are always at a disadvantage as a defense. And credit to all these defensive coaches in the last 5 years, and obviously it's been going on a lot longer than that, but in the last 5 years in particular, they've looked at it and go, oh, the game is rigged. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to force, instead of just reacting to everything that happens and hoping that we have better athletes and we react in time, we're going to make you react. We're going to be so aggressive that the offense is going to have to react to what we do. And if you're not doing that, you're so behind, and you're going to be what we just saw in the second half of the season from the 49ers, because they were doing stuff for the first 6 weeks. And then Fred goes out, and Robert Saleh goes, I don't have the guys to communicate this. So they bring in Jair Brown because they thought he was the best communicator, and they stopped trying anything. And they had terrible game plans. Their game plan against the Colts was embarrassing, just embarrassing. I mean, it was my game plan, but I'm not the defensive coordinator. And he's just like, oh, Phillip Rivers can't throw it. And Phillip Rivers is like, what if I did? And you're like, oh, we didn't see that one coming. Embarrassing game plans. Just bend but don't break. Oh, well, we have all these good players that can somehow make plays in the red zone, but they can't make plays anywhere else because we don't want to let them. We're just keep backing up and just let them tucker themselves out. In the NFL, you're dead. You're dead that way. So I want defensive coordinators that make airs of commission. They try stuff. They're aggressive. They're willing to do what Raheem Morris was doing last year, which was hot blitzes, bringing 6, and then doing crazy disguises on coverages on the back end, doing a lot of what Mike Macdonald does for the Seahawks, which is, okay, we're going to pressure you. We're going to engulf you, and then we're going to bring guys off the edge on top of that. And what's going to happen is we're going to flush out your quarterback in a certain direction. And when you flush to the left, that's fine because we've overloaded our coverage to that side. So if you have an open guy, he's just 70 yards away from you because he's on the opposite side of the field 25 yards away. So good luck with that one. Or the opposite direction. That's what they do. We know what Flores does. DeMeco they win with 4 so repeatedly. It's just the 2019 Niners all over again. They're unbelievable, except faster and better because they have better corners. You can't try to build a defense that way. You luck into one, and then you just try not to mess it up. And D'Amico's doing a great job in not messing it up. But they don't have like plays. They have like 4 plays. They don't need anything like that. I need guys who have plays. I need guys who are going, okay, the game is rigged. How do I turn the tables? And Gus Bradley might have been last on my list if that's my criteria, because he doesn't try stuff. He doesn't do stuff. He still believes that the Legion of Boom cover 3 with a little bit of cover 4 sprinkled in will get it done, and that offenses are not capable of running 10, 12, 13 play drives when all we see every week is 10, 12, 13 play drives, because offensive coordinators have gotten so much better because offense is it's rigged in the offense's favor. I think Raheem was not going to be as good as a Jim Schwartz, but I don't think that they had the opportunity to really wait out as weird. I was wrong. I will full mea culpa. I thought the Jim Schwartz situation was going to be resolved quickly, not amicably, but quickly. That has proven to not be the case. Let it be a lesson to me to never expect logic or sanity from the Cleveland Browns. Never make that mistake again. Can't believe I made it in the first place. So they weren't willing to wait out the Schwartz situation. I think Schwartz would have been a better hire. They were not in a position to find out, because then you're going with Gus Bradley. And Raheem Morris has proven to me, maybe not to everyone else, but I'm trying to watch this stuff with a very analytical eye, and I'm trying to come up with theories and values and stuff. He strikes me as somebody who you can't let walk for the hope of getting somebody maybe a little bit better. This is absolutely a 1 in the hand over 2 in the bush, and I don't know if Jim Schwartz is getting wrangled out of that bush anytime soon. So getting Raheem Morris is an absolute win for the 49ers because, again, ruthless pragmatist, Super Bowl champion, and somebody who really, I think, will do a great job in maximizing what the 49ers have without needing, like Robert Saleh needed, a bunch of guys who fit some ideal. He'll make it work with what he's got, as he did in Atlanta last year.
You know, the Schwartz deal, I think, was that Philly was going to come for him, and now that with Fangio, he was there in Philly before, and I think they just didn't want to be left at the altar, with nothing, waiting to the last second on Schwartz. And then also it's about Kyle's comfort, and I think Kyle's more comfortable with Raheem, and I also think, Raheem, I think you look at Raheem has got a sound coverage, but they're going to run a lot of cover 3, and they're going to run a lot of zone, a lot of cover 3, a lot of cover 4, some cover 6, and that's what they're going to utilize. Where Schwartz was going to be a lot of man-to-man,
cover 1
and cover 1. He was getting some cover 2 match. I mean, he was going to cover 0. I mean, he was going to basically be a man-to-man. They were probably going to have to change some personnel. They were probably going to have to. It's not as easy as that. It's not as easy as like, well, you got a bunch of guys playing zone. Oh, just have them play man. Well,
there's some guys on that team that I think could have done well. I think if you moved Diamador Lenore back to slot, he would have been great at that. I think that Renardo Green's probably better served by that, but you still have the same questions at safety, but you're going to have to then change. You're definitely going to have to get a different weak side linebacker. And yeah, so it would have been tricky, but they're in a position where they could have managed it to effect.
Now, the question is, who benefits the most from Raheem Morris, who likes to run a lot of 5-man fronts? And I think on the surface, the guy that I think, should be helped by this, and maybe this has something to do with why Raheem Morris is here, is Mikael Williams. Because Mikael Williams, was doubled a lot, and we know what he was this year. He was an inside player he was an outside player on first and second down, setting the edge. Then he's an inside player on passing downs, and he's an interior rusher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but now in this 5-man fronts, I think you're gonna see his double team rate go down, and I think you're gonna see him more outside, and not is predominantly inside on third downs. You're gonna see him. We're gonna find out what he can do from the edge as a rusher, because in these 5-man fronts, I think there'll be more situations where he is left outside on the money down and not necessarily put inside at all times on third downs.
Yep.
So if you want to see Mikael rush from outside, I think that helps him. I think also Upton Stout, who's I think a very dangerous potential blitzer in this scheme, where you're going to see him bring more pressure, more sim pressure, but more pressure and I think that's advantage Upton Stout. I think Upton Stout is going to be a better player, in this defense than he was in the defense he played in this year. And then, I don't know. I mean, Demo Lenore's interesting as well. I mean, I'm not sure exactly where he's going as far
I
as
think he's a benefit.
Is Demo getting better? Is Demo getting worse? Has he already played his best football?
He probably has, but Raheem got Mike Hughes to be one of the statistically best corners in football. Now they had Terrell on the other side, don't get me wrong, but like Mike Hughes got a lot of action and made a lot of plays, and Mike Hughes' whole thing is, he's not the biggest, not the fastest, but he's a mean sumbitch, and he'll fight you. He'll fight you the whole way. Sounds like Diamador Lenore to me.
Well, and Lenore you can tell Lenore wants to travel with another team's number one, and Morris will let him do that. And I don't think the Niners, you saw Salah's answer when he was asked about it. He's like, well, it complicates things, and it's not just for him, it's for everybody else. But I think Morris is going to be more apt to let Demo, travel with Puka, travel with, with JSN. And I think that's probably the way they ought to play it, to be honest.
I'm interested to see they left in the game against the Eagles. I thought a really legitimate that was a really impressively defensive coordinated game. For as bad as they were late in the year and as lame as they were late in the year, Saleh really pulled out a bunch of stops in that game. And one of the things that he did was he left Lenore on the field side exclusively, which I don't think had ever done. Where it's no, you're the field side guy. And that doesn't matter if it's left or right, you're field side. Less space, more ability to get a little punch in there. I think that's what you need to do with Lenore full time. So maybe it's not traveling. Maybe it's just he has the field side, and then you hope Renardo Green can get his head on straight to where he can handle the boundary. But that might have been their best cornered game all year. And I know that there were a couple of shots for A.J. Brown and such, but like that might be the answer. We'll see. I think Raheem is an incredible pragmatist. It's not as if he doesn't have ideas, but this is somebody who adapts to the personnel that he has and is willing to bring in guys that might not be conventional fits in different spots. I mean, think about what he did with Jalen Ramsey, who, corner. Well, we're going to move him around. He's going to be like a Sam linebacker for us. And now he's a safety. Like, you put great players in positions to make plays. I think that's his main principle. I don't know if the Niners have great players, but I agree with you on Mikel. I agree with you on Demo. I definitely think Upton Stout would have been in grave danger had it been Jim Schwartz, because I don't think he can be that kind of man-to-man, the little bit more physicality that you need. But if you're going to run, a lot of disguise coverages, and yes, they're going to run 2, 3, 4. They're also going to run 6, 7, and 9 covers. And they throw some funky stuff out there on the back end. That really suits Upton Stout, whose best ability is, yes, he's mean and he's fearless and he loves to blitz and he's good at it, but he's also really good at covering the hook and the flat. Like, he's really good in that second level, kind of floating in there in that zone area of a linebacker. There's a lot of passes that he kind of just got up and got before it got over to the over route or the dig route. So that's something that they can amplify, that they can use more of, especially if you're going to be bringing more people, trying more stuff up front, having guys who can play sound zone coverage behind that. And I think Stout can absolutely do that. And maybe even, considerably playing out of position comparatively to what you would expect, because you're leaving fewer guys back there is a big win. So I'm also curious on who this is a win for in the safety position, because he does like to have a true free safety. The Niners have one of those. No one could argue that Marquise Siegel had a good year, seeing as he was on the bench for half of it, and when he came back, it was tough sledding, though there were certainly flashes and moments. I'm very curious to what this means for Marquise Siegel. It could be the end of the run. It could mean the beginning of something great, but they need to make some tough decisions. I don't think it's a good thing for Malik Mustafa, frankly.
Cam Curl might be a free agent target that they could look at as well. I mean,
expensive.
He's going to be expensive, but he's also a damn good player.
Very good.
All right, couple last ones, and then we will hit our supers and bolt for the door. One of the things that is a major problem for the 49ers is that they lean on their tight end a lot.
Yep.
And their tight end is great, and they're not going to have him this year.
Correct.
So who is the tight end that you want to go after? It's a very speculative position. There's guys that They're receiving tight ends. There's blocking tight ends. There's converted offensive linemen. There's guys of all shapes and sizes, tall guys, short guys, thick guys. Who is your tight end that you want to bring in this year? Not necessarily to replace George Kittle, but maybe for the year to replace George Kittle.
Charlie Kolar out of Baltimore with a bullet. Listen, there's some.
You want to bring in Brock Purdy's college tight end.
That's right. And I think that there's so much potential in this guy. He was the third tight end for Baltimore. I thought he was awesome in blocking. They only threw it to him like 10 times last year. I think he's got some really nice mitts. I think he runs clean routes. I think there's a lot of athleticism there that was untapped. I think that, frankly, you can't go wrong just taking the Baltimore tight ends. They draft that position so damn well. A lot of people are going to like Likely. I agree that he would be better than Charlie Kolar because he was better in Baltimore and they know what they're doing at that position, but he's going to be expensive. And probably Baltimore would be a fool to let him walk, given where Andrews is at in his career. Njoku, I think, is going to be too expensive and is not actually that well-rounded of a tight end enough to put that kind of investment in. You have a lot of good blocking tight ends. I think Tyler Higbee is going to be somebody who gets a lot of love in the free agent market, even at 33, because he's just solid all around. There's some blocking tight ends that I like. I like Mo Alley Cox. I like Chris Manhertz. I like John Fitzpatrick from the Packers. I think Charlie Kolar is the guy, though, that you get it. You can get him at a very reasonable price. You're not now investing another large sum of money into a tight end because you already have that as it stands. And I don't know what they end up doing with Luke Farrell. I'd cut him. They might not. They probably won't, given the state of the position at hand. You're going to go with Tonjes. You got to keep him around as an RFA. I think he's an early RFA, so it's pretty straightforward to keep him. There's no way they let Tonjes walk, frankly. So you have those two guys in-house. You have Braden Willis. Okay. You can bring him to camp. I can't imagine he gets through again. So you need somebody else who you can just play. You can play in a 12 personnel set with Tonjes because Farrell was just god-awful. He can't block and he can't catch, so I'm not really sure what it is you do here, bud. He was just brutal. I think Kolar, one, he's going to set the edge for you every time in the run game. So sound in his blocking, powerful in his legs, just really, really good. You know that he's been asked to do that at a high level. He's done it at a high level coming from Baltimore. So you have that in the same way that you had it with the Charlie Warner. He's better than Charlie Warner as a blocker. And you've kind of been missing Charlie Warner for the years that he's been gone. What you wouldn't give to get Charlie Warner back, you could just have him back. And I think he has really untapped pass catching ability that could turn into a serious weapon for this team. My guy's Charlie Kolar through and through. 26 years old. I think you can get him for $5 million a year. I think that'd be the best money they'd spend this offseason.
It's a good name. This is where I think the cap casualty department is going to this is the position
Big
that
time.
it's going to produce a lot of options. Here are some tight ends that are projected to be cap casualties. Evan Ingram,
right?
Cole Kmet,
Yep.
Dawson Knox, Jonnu Smith, TJ Hawkinson, Colby Parkinson, Payne Durham, Tommy Tremble.
Okay, there's no way that Kmet and what was the Hawkinson are getting to the market. There's just no way.
Well, I don't know. They've got a lot of money tied up in. They're going with Loveland. Obviously, I don't. Kmet's not my favorite guy anyway. I like Tommy Tremble.
Tommy Tremble's a good player.
I think Tommy Tremble is their guy. He can do everything. He can block in space.
Yep.
He's not a strong inline blocker, but he's a very good in space blocker. And the Niners use their tight end to block guys in space a lot. So I mean, you see Kittle, as a major blocker. I think one of the big disappointments was the tight end Luke Farrell. I just think he was very disappointing. I like Tommy Tremble. I think Tremble is a better receiver than you think. He's a better blocker than you think. He's a better athlete than you think.
I've literally had a conversation about Tommy Tremble with Jake during this show.
Yeah, I really like Tommy Tremble a lot. I think that's the guy that I would go for. I also am intrigued by Colby Parkinson. I got to be honest.
Yeah, you should be.
But I'll tell you, Sam Roush from Stanford is just, the hands are just not there.
No, they are not.
Just not there. And it's an interesting tight end group this year. The other guy that I really think is a very good tight end is Russell Maryland's son, who plays at SMU.
Yep.
RJ Maryland, and he's 240 pounds, so he's a little on the smaller side. He's more of a receiving tight end, but he's a damn good receiving tight end. So I don't know. To me, I like Tonjes a lot, but I would sign Tommy Tremble, and if I could probably hit it in the draft, I would, but probably not early. More of a late thing. I do love Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt. He's probably one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Kenyon Sadiq is the guy who's going to be overdrafted. He reminds me a lot of Vernon Davis. People ask me about
Kenyon
Oscar.
Sadiq is sick.
People ask me about Oscar Delp from Georgia, but I kind of like the other kid from Georgia. What's his name? Lucky?
Yes. Carson Lucky.
Or
Lawson Lucky.
Lawson Lucky.
Yeah.
I kind of like Lawson Lucky. But
He's
there's no question.
Both of them are good options, frankly.
Yeah, RJ Maryland though, and the other guy at SMU, I think his name's Hibner. Hibner's more of an inline blocker, but I really like RJ Maryland. So we'll see tight end wise in this draft. The Notre Dame kid Eli Raritan is a pretty good player. The Traore, the tight end from Mississippi State, I think is a pretty good player. I love the Houston tight end.
Yeah, he was the best pass catcher at the Senior Bowl. Koziel.
Yeah,
he was the best one. Now the thing is,
but he's tall.
He's really tall, really great mitts. The blocking is he played at Ball State, so you have to block a little bit, right? You're coming from the MAC. You can't just get away without blocking. But he is going way up the boards. Me and Jake did our Senior Bowl guys. I got a text immediately after that show was done, and they're like, Koziel, day 2, lock it.
Oh, yeah, he's really good.
Well,
the ball skills are really tremendous.
I mean, he just absolutely dunked on like 3 dudes in Mobile. Like you don't get away with that and not get drafted high.
Yeah. He looked really, really good. Okay, there's one last one that I wanted to get to. What was it? I had some notes here. Where is it?
Should probably do supers while we.
Yeah, we're gonna hit some supers here. Okay. People are at Niners Nation is asking, is it time to replace George Kittle? There was somebody saying today the Niners ought to trade George Kittle. I think
George fuck is taking George Kittle off an Achilles injury.
I know. Well, they were saying Tennessee, but I don't.
George would love that.
Yeah, I don't. Because he lives there. But I don't. I think the 49ers really. I think George is one of the guys they're kind of. If they can, they're going to go to the finish line with. That would be my.
They don't have any choice at this point. They don't have any choice but to go to the finish line with him. In fact, they probably have to restructure his contract to get off some of the cap number that he has for this year. So they have no choice but to go to the finish line with George Kittle. No one's taking him. You're getting pennies on the dollar for George Kittle. You got to just see it through. There's no choice about it.
All right, couple last ones here on the supers. Well, let's hit some supers here. Here we go.
Yeah.
And we should tell everybody that the supers in the Krug Show are brought to you by our good friends at Habas Law. They will fight to make it right. Thanks to Omar Habas and Tarek Habas and all the people at the Habas Law team. Thanks to all of them. 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. Habas Law. HabasLaw.com on the web. Man, when you need the insurance companies deny you, and you need a good lawyer who can battle and beat the insurance companies. Habas Law is for you. HabasLaw.com, 1-800-INJURED. Habas Law, they will fight to make it right. They're great attorneys, great PI attorneys. If you need an attorney, give them a call. Harry Johnson says, so is Jed not going to be as involved anymore? What is your read on the Al Guido promotion? Does that mean they're going to promote Lynch to Al's spot as president and find another personnel evaluator? Is this more of a statement that Jed's going to be less involved, or is this thing just getting bigger and really neither of those things is true? What's your read on the Al Guido promotion of the day?
I think Al does a very good job as the president of the team. I think that Jed has a lot of attention in a lot of different spots, and I think that there's just certain responsibilities that come from being the team's CEO that Jed would rather have Al, who's a very capable person to do it and probably should be doing it, handle. So maybe this means that Jed is taking a bit of a step back, but that could have been the case whether he was CEO or not. I think it's just a way to get Al some more money so that he doesn't leave for a CEO job in a different spot.
That's interesting. Um, let's go to T-Bone, who says, T-Bone says, Larry, I took my brothers to Golden Steer last weekend. That's a steakhouse in Vegas.
That's true.
Thanks for recommendations, along with a great 49er season. I appreciate everything you do. We appreciate you, man. Thank you,
Yeah.
T-Bone. And
May I also recommend the
been there,
Gold Room? No.
have you ever been to the
Gold.
Golden Steer in Vegas?
I've not been to the Golden Steer in Vegas. Where did I go in Vegas? It's a famous steakhouse in New York that they did in Vegas, which made it a lot easier.
Peter
to get into.
Luger's?
Yeah. I grew up in Chicago. We visited like the steakhouse that we would just go to steakhouses. That was like a weird thing that just like steakhouses were like affordable in Chicago when I was growing up, and so we just like go to Luma. Or it was Gene and Giorgetti's, just like casually, like once every couple of months, like as the family. Like, so my standards for like steakhouses are very high, and I don't know if there's a better one than Gene and Giorgetti's in Chicago.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you this: Golden Steer is like it's like it's an old style place. It's really hard to get a reservation during Super Bowl week. One of the Krug Show fans, our big fan, Big Mo Easy in Vegas,
Now we're talking.
took me and Kev there and got a reservation. And I was telling JT the Brick, Mike, he's like, "Where'd you go to dinner last night?" I'm like, "Yeah, we went to the Golden Steer." He comes over, he looks at me, he's like, "Shut up."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, we went to the Golden Steer last night." "Shut up." He said that to me. I'm like, "JT, why?" He's like, "Dude, I've been trying to get a reservation there for the last 3 years." I said, "Are you kidding me?"
I'm looking at the photos right now. This place looks badass.
Dude, they have the best Caesar salad. They make it right at your table with the anchovies and the whole deal. The shrimp cocktail is like famous. Their steaks are
that Caesar salad
unbelievable.
looks fantastic.
The Caesar is absolutely amazing. The lobster tail is drawn butter and the whole. I mean, it's this place.
You're killing me, Lair. This looks so good.
Amazing.
This looks fantastic.
Deets, I'm telling you, this is a spot.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. You got, and the room is like old school.
That's what
Vegas,
I love. Yeah.
with the red leather furniture, and it's not like we went to the in the W, in the Wynn, there's a steakhouse called the W,
right,
and it was phenomenal. We went there the night before, but this was even better. The food was even better at the Golden Steer. It was absolutely fantastic.
Next time I go to Vegas, which I hope is not soon,
I know, seriously,
I will have to hit up the Golden Steer. This looks
Golden
fantastic.
Steer. It's amazing. James Foster in the house. He says Travion's going to break one or two big runs. No one's expecting it. No one has punched back against Seattle except the Rams. New England May is better than Darnold.
All right, let's start the timer. We're going to do one more hour on Patriots and Seahawks.
We're done arguing about it, but I will say this: Travion's done very little in the playoffs, and the one thing that I think, Dave Softy Mahler was telling me going into that Week 18 game that his big concern with Seattle was their inability to cover running backs out of the backfield. Now, Travion Henderson has been awesome, but he's been really, really not awesome in the last month or two. So if he steps up with a big performance here, that would be kind of a surprise for sure, a surprise element. James Foster says Vrabel is better than McDonald.
Yeah, but what about their players?
I don't know. Yeah, McDonald's a pretty damn good coach too. James Foster, what if Shaheed has a fumble on special teams?
We can play that game all night.
Sure. I mean, would you go for Shaheed if you were the Niners? He's a free agent at the end of the year.
No, because of the cost to benefit. And I don't think that he can block in the run game. He definitely brings the speed that you're looking for, but you've kind of seen how he has it. I mean, there's been moments where you're like, oh, you should throw him the ball more when he's in Seattle. And then there's a lot of times where he's just not there, right? And they have to really
non-factor in the pass game.
Right. So I'm of the mindset that the juice is probably not worth the squeeze there.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. Propa says, I think Denver with Bo Nix could have beaten Seattle. Elite pass rush, lockdown corner, Huff and Greenlaw flying around. He was balling in the divisional round as well. I'm not a Bo Nix guy myself, but I was very happy to see Sean Payton lose, especially after he talked down to the reporter. Anthony Catania is in
What
the
do you
house.
know about running downhill?
What do you
tackling
know about
downhill?
running downhill? It's like, dude, you're a football coach. What do
Yeah,
you know
well,
about anything that's not football? Probably
Nobody loves the smell of their own farts more than Sean Payton.
Sean Payton. It's bad karma, dude. It's just bad
Totally.
karma. By the way, we are brought to you by Sharp Corners Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. The great Anthony Catania, who's on right there. He's at 831-521-5264, or you can connect with him via Instagram. Sharp Corners 831 on the gram.
Now we're talking.
Drops $49.99. Thank you, Anthony. Says Larry and Dieter hope all is well. Another great show. Kyle Shanahan should just show the team at the start of training camp the rise of the 49ers series. Absolutely phenomenal. The 49ers clearly the class of the league. Thank you, Bill and Eddie. Yeah.
Which
no
is why you
question.
should all be rooting for the Seahawks. You don't want that. You don't want that Patriots to go 2-up on the class of the league. You
Oh,
need to
man.
keep that thing within punching distance.
Propa says Seattle has a great defense, but we literally watched the Rams have their way with them twice in the last month. All-time great is reaching.
I'm telling you right now.
I hear what you're saying, Dieter, because I do kind of agree with you that their personnel is really, really special. And Shanahan said it when I asked him, I said, what makes this defense really special? He's like, they have a great scheme, but they're also their second year in the scheme, and the personnel is perfectly suited to the scheme. And I totally agree with every bit of that. I just think that there's some youth, and I don't think they're quite as good as they've looked in the last couple of weeks. But we shall see. We shall see.
I would just like to note that the Legion of Boom defense did give up like 34 points to the Colts in 2013. Like there's always one or two teams that just know how to do it, but that doesn't mean that everyone can.
This team is just younger than that team. Like,
They're
the
scary.
E-Man Warriors. I mean, they're a little bit more
Witherspoon.
unreliable, but the talent is off the charts. There's no
I know
question.
you're a Drake Thomas guy.
Well, I love second level speed, and they have it.
What's
They
it
have it
like?
for days. And the
Josh
Niners
Joe,
used to have
baby.
tons of it, and the Chiefs used to have tons of it, and they were the fastest teams. Now Seattle has tons of it, and the Niners are really slow on the second level, so it bothers me. Propa says Houston's defense was way scarier than the Hawks' defense.
They're an impressive
Propa says
defense.
the Vikings GM, who just got fired, had like 3 terrible drafts, reached for a bust first-round quarterback, and let Sam Darnold walk. Sounds a lot like John Lynch. What did you think of Kwesi Adolfo, whatever, getting fired? I mean, that seemed kind of – he hadn't been there very long, but is that just simply they picked the wrong quarterback? If they had stayed with Darnold and traded, J.J. McCarthy, would he still have his gig?
I mean, if they just franchise tagged him and kept McCarthy, they probably would still have his gig. It's a power play by Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi didn't see eye to eye on how to build the team, and Kevin O'Connell won out.
Somebody said Kwesi left when he had a kid for like a week or something like that.
Yeah, he did 2 weeks of pat leave.
Which is not NFL.
Not very NFL, but
I mean, that's not
he was
throw
working
that
from
out
home
there
for
to the
2
public,
weeks.
and the public would defend him. But in the NFL circles, that's unheard of.
Yeah, well, that's a stupid thing to be holding up on sanctimony.
It is. Propa says the last Super Bowl loss is haunting this team. If they won, we'd see that Lynch helped us get us one, and would have more faith that he could draft another core again. Took Schneider a decade after LOB to win again.
Hasn't even won it yet.
Yeah, I mean, Schneider is a scout though, and
Yep.
this is what he does. He's not a broadcaster. He wasn't a Hall of Fame safety. This is what he does. Where Lynch is like trying to show us that he can do it all. He can be a great broadcaster, he can be a Hall of Fame player, and he can be a world-class executive. And it's just a tall ask. I'm not saying that he can't do it. It's
Put 2
just a
teams
tall
in the
ask.
Super Bowl.
Did
10-point
he?
lead in the fourth quarter.
Did he or
He was the
did
GM
Shanahan?
of those teams. I mean,
Yeah. But I mean,
was John Schneider in complete control of the roster? Was Pete Carroll in 2013? I mean, you can make the same argument.
it's all about what have you done for me lately, and they haven't done a whole lot lately.
What a playoff game.
Brad Jones says there is a rumor going around that the Niners are going to get the Australia game against the Rams as the away team and be the home team in Mexico City. I mean, Jed came out and said today that that they're willing to give away one of their home games to play internationally.
Well, they haven't done it yet, so they don't really have any choice.
But I think they
by the
probably
way,
are
this
going
rumor
to.
is almost certain to happen.
That they are going to play in Australia and Mexico.
That they're going to be the
They're going to play 2 international games in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
One is the home team, one is the road team.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that would be something.
That is the full expectation of those who know.
Brad Jones says, didn't the owner handcuff them by taking one of the ways to improve the team by basically shutting down free agent spending last offseason?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I want to defend Jed, but they were 26th in undrafted free agent spending.
Totally.
When they are awesome at undrafted free agents, and it's a very cost-effective place to spend your money. And so for them to arbitrarily sit it out seemed stupid. It really did seem stupid.
No, they like, I was not a Leonard Floyd fan. They cut him merely so they didn't have to pay him in cash. There was almost no cap benefit to cutting Leonard Floyd.
And Malik Collins.
It was just, that's millions of dollars that we can have so that we can give it to the players that need these new big contracts. Jed has a cap of he'll spend $300 million in cash every year. And if you have to pay a big quarterback, there it goes.
Yeah, I mean, drawing hard lines in the sand on your budget while your team is escalated to $9 billion
totally inexcusable
is so stupid.
Said it at the time, repeated it today. That was guaranteeing, and this is why I repeated so often that internally they were like, it's all about 26. It's all about 26.
You were right. They, George Kittle came out and said it on the last day, and it's like the fact that he said it on the last day. Well, we were supposed to be rebuilding. It's like, it's nauseating. Smith Corbin, good day from Australia, Krug and Dieter. Listening on the drive home from work. I'll see you when you're here for Rams against Niners in Melbourne.
My body will be broken, but my spirit will be in it.
God, that'd be incredible.
20 hours on a plane, baby. Let's do this thing.
Oh, my God. 5 hours makes me sick. Yeah. 20 hours, I think I'd be on the wing.
I'm going to take hard drugs and see if I can sleep the entire time.
God, I mean, I don't even know what I could do.
I'm going.
I don't think I could do it, dude.
I'm going. I'm bringing my whole damn family. I'm going to be dead.
On the trip to Seattle, I was in the back row in the corner, last row in the corner, and a lady actually put her head on my shoulder in the middle of the flight.
That's because you're a lovely, cuddly man. But this is because you didn't pay the $27 to get a decent economy plus seat.
I know. I seriously, I gotta figure out.
You'll never regret paying for a moderate upgrade on an airline flight.
I mean, I did one of these.
Like, lady, get off of me.
Seriously.
Was she wearing pajama pants?
No, but it's like, dude, get off my elbow, get off my shoulder.
Have you ever noticed that when you get on a plane, people are dressed like people, and then when you get on the back of the plane, they're dressed like they're at a slumber party?
I know. Well, it's like high school. People who show up at high school wearing pajamas. That's really bad. That's really bad.
Glad you're wearing your Garfield fuzzy slippers on this international flight. Hopefully we don't crash on a remote desert island where you'll be completely unprepared.
I know. That is ridiculous. JCNY 49er. So many holes. Some will need to be cheap vets. Greenlaw? No. If the money is right, no. He's fearsome. 2 years removed from Achilles is a thing. Still only 28. No. Here's the thing. This is actually one of the big parts of this offseason. The test for the Niners this offseason is, can they not do what I know they're going to do?
What's that?
Which is go back to Armstead or Debo or Hargrave or Greenlaw or any of their guys. They love their own guys so damn much. They need to not go back to any of their guys. And yet I think I would bet almost anything that they will go back for one of their guys.
Yep.
Not the right move. Not the right move
bad.
at all. at all.
So bad.
A couple last ones. JC says you guys need to draft for SF. Love both channels.
I am willing to listen to consulting fees. I'm willing to have that debate.
What do you want? What do you want from the Niners if they said, Dieter, run our draft this spring? How much do you want?
That's a good question. I probably should have thought of that before I said that out loud. As somebody who I know has made picks for other teams in the division, almost expressly, allow my magic to be used on your team by letting me in. I can help you. I've helped the Seahawks, I've helped the Rams, and I've definitely helped the Cardinals. Let me help you.
I want a quarter mil. I want a quarter mil. Give me 250 grand. I'll do it. Jeff 49er says, Larry, we both like KC Concepcion. What's Dieter thought on it? Do you like the A&M kid? He's probably going to run. My guess is 4-4 flat. I think he's not going to be a 4-3 guy, but he's not going to be a mid 4-4 guy either. I think he's 4-4 flat. Maybe he'll even run a little faster than that. What do you think for KC Concepcion?
He strikes me as a very fun college player and probably not a great pro.
His college quarterback wasn't very good. I
agree with that. I agree
Marstell
with that.
Was horrible,
and he made some really cool plays.
I know. There's something there wasn't
enough of them.
Yeah,
there wasn't enough of them, and it wasn't. He had a lot of weird drops. He had a lot of plays that he just wouldn't run hard routes on. He was very easily taken out by any sort of man coverage, any sort of attention. I think that he can be a nice depth piece. I think he's a pro. I think he's good enough to be a pro, absolutely. I just think that if you're taking him in the first round, you need him to be your number one receiver, and that is going to be a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, you got to get beyond the measurables. This guy's got the measurables, but he just doesn't have that vibe that he's going to be your true number one.
Right.
And you're going to have to draft him in a neighborhood where he's going to have to be that true number one, and so it doesn't work.
You need to get a little bit of a diva personality off of a true number one. I know that sounds weird, but like a true number one is angry when the ball's not thrown his way.
He's got to have a presence. Yeah.
Yep. This guy
number one is a number one presence. He doesn't have a number one presence.
Yep.
I'll
leave this one to you, Lair.
Too much sauce. Was Chase Young a regrettable loss for us? Dude, I called Chase Young out after the NFC Championship game, and the reaction to me calling him out was absolutely startling. I called him out and said to Shanahan, I wanted somebody else to ask the question. I really wanted somebody else to ask the question because I didn't want to ask Shanahan, hey, by the way, your guys are dogging it. But I also wasn't going to let it go. And so I did ask the question, well, what happened? Shanahan, to his credit, and this is what I love about Kyle Shanahan, if you ask him a brutally tough question, but it's real, he will not shine you a la Sean Payton and try to embarrass you and turn tables on you. He will own it. So I asked him, I said, Kyle, is this your culture? I felt like I saw some guys who weren't really given 100% in that NFC Championship game, and seeing it was the NFC Championship game. Is this your culture? Were you happy with that? What did you think when you saw that? And I to a man, I was so nervous because I thought, man, he's going to bite my head off. Instead, he goes, you know what? It's not our culture. I don't think that was the rule. I thought it was more the exception. There were some examples, though, of guys who didn't go hard enough, and he owned it. It. And what happened from there? The next morning, Lynch called a press conference in the media room and told us that we were never going to see what we saw again. It's like, we've discussed this, we've addressed this internally, and you're never going to see what you saw again. So he was obviously pissed about it, right? Then I'll never forget this. It was time to interview Steve Wilks.
Mm-hmm.
And normally I sit right in the middle, but I got into the room late, so I'm in the far corner. And he comes out of and he starts talking, and he is literally turned all the way over looking right at me. And he's like, what we saw last week was not acceptable, and this and that, and it can't happen. And especially in a game of that magnitude. And then you get the Super Bowl, right? And I could not believe this, but it came out the week after the Super Bowl. They have the live mic, and here's live mic copy. Chase Young talking to George Kittle, and George Kittle says to Chase Young before the game, Chase, there's no meetings this week. There's no practice this week. We have nothing this week. Everything is about today. And I swear to you, Chase Young, total seriousness, looks right at George Kittle and says, I won't let you down. So, dude, somebody, that little, my question, I don't know. I'm sure it could not have been just my question.
No, they probably saw it, but they weren't going to make a thing out of it. Yeah.
They saw it, and they got in his face, and they said something. And,
he's never coming back after that.
Yeah, he's never coming back.
By the way, he wasn't that good the year after. But, he was okay last year.
Yeah, but he's never coming back after that because he broke that code. You do not go 75% in an NFC Championship game. All right, that's going to do it for us. Dieter, all the talk about the Senior Bowl and all that stuff. When you and Jake sat down to talk about prospects in the Senior Bowl, who was the guy that you guys were most super jacked about before we get out of here?
Overcrown. Overcrown.
Really? Wow.
Oh, we loved him.
Okay.
We loved him. We can't get enough of him.
That's the guy Jake really loved.
That's the guy I loved. That's the guy Jake loved. That's the guy the coaches loved. That's the Texas A&M left tackle. That's
I know.
guy.
I wanted to finish with.
Yeah.
Where do you think Mac Jones winds up? Who do you think, now that we know what head coaches are where? I brought this up to Chase Sr. I couldn't believe it, but I really believe it now. Mac Jones is the second best quarterback. Unless you're a Ty Simpson fan, outside of Fernando Mendoza, you might argue that Mac Jones is the second best available quarterback in any category this offseason behind Mendoza. Where do you think?
Yeah.
Who do you think wants him the most? Where do you think he's going to wind up? Or do you think he'll be back?
I think he'll be back.
Really?
I do.
Wow.
I think it's I don't think that they're in a position to trust Brock Purdy to play 17 games yet, because he hasn't.
Yeah.
So
it's probably the smartest thing for them to do. It's probably the smartest thing. It's probably the best thing for them to do as far as trying to guarantee that they make the playoffs.
And let's lay it one step further. No team in all of football thinks, talks, and considers compensatory picks more than the San Francisco 49ers. Jake and I make this joke all the time. That's, what's the comp pick? And I had somebody a couple of weeks ago be like, you have no idea how spot on that is. That's all they talk about. They think about the comp picks for everything. It's all they care about. Kyle even made a joke of it the other day with Salah. I wish he stayed for another year so I could get a pick out of it.
Right.
They are obsessed with comp picks.
So they'll get a comp pick in the third round, most likely a year from now, if they just stay with Mac Jones.
Correct. So you're going to have to
get a very good offer.
I don't think it's coming.
Yeah. Probably what? A second and a player, probably.
Yeah.
A second.
It'd have to be a top 50 pick or top 60 and a decent enough player.
If you had to guess, though, who do you think tries to make the biggest play for him? Is it Arizona? Is it the Raiders? Is it the Jets? Is it the Steelers? Is it the Vikings?
It'd probably be Arizona, which I think would be a real problem for them, because I don't think that the Niners would have any interest in giving him up to somebody in the division, even the Cardinals. But I think LaFleur would be best served to have him. I don't think it would be the Raiders. I think they're going to go with Mendoza, and I think it would just be an immediate plug and play. I think the Steelers are going to bring back Rodgers that's why they hired Mike McCarthy for all intents and purposes. Great job, by the way. No one else comes
Jets.
to mind. I mean, the Jets can try. They actually have the draft picks to where they can throw one away, but I think that they're being smart for the first time in a long time and going to build this thing up the right way. And what do they have to lose? They're going to suck whether they're trying to do it the right way, or they could suck the way they've sucked for the last 15 years where they've been doing it the wrong way. So
the 16th pick would make the Niners move for sure.
Yeah, I'd drive them there. I'd drive them to New Jersey for the 16th pick.
Heck, you might be able to get, maybe the Niners first round pick. Maybe they could move to 16 from the back of the first round if they move Mac Jones.
There's a conversation there. It would take a damn good player, I think. I can't remember. I think it was maybe you who brought up a 1-for-1 trade for Mac Jones. And
for who?
I can't
Garrett
remember
Wilson?
for the life of me.
Are you talking about? Jordan Addison or something like that?
Yeah, I can actually kind of buy Jordan Addison for Mac Jones straight up.
Would make you wonder if the Niners would go for a player that had that kind of track record.
But you're getting him on a serious discount, right? You're getting him on the contract he's already on. You're not giving.
But you got to extend him.
Yeah, but you get a year. You get some time. So I can actually buy that one if that's the way the Vikings want to go. Like I'm willing to hear that because you have someone who has an NFL track record who is still young. Yeah, he's got some warts on him, but wouldn't you rather have the warts that you know about rather than some new guy coming in? You got to teach him how to play wide receiver at the NFL level, which none of these guys learned how to do, it seems. That I'm more interested in if we're playing the hypothetical game. But if I had to guess, I think he sticks with the Niners because backup quarterback's the second most important position on any football team.
No, I think you're right. And I think at the end of the day that they'll ask for a lot. They won't get what they want, and then they'll just justify keeping him. And I don't think there's anybody who's going to be that passionate about getting him to the point where they will dramatically overpay. And I think the Niners are in that spot where they're like demanding to be dramatically overpaid. All right, that's going to do it for us. Bunch of
yes men in the Niners drafting room.
Yes men in the 49er draft room. All right, for Dieter, I'm Larry. Have a great one. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to Sleeper. Thanks to Habislaw. Thanks to Dieter. Thanks to all of you. Dieter, when do you appear next on the Leader?
Right after you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Dieter to follow at 7. For Dieter, I'm Larry. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.